What's up, people? Welcome to a brand new episode of the Eastern Lariat, our first in the year 2025. It is, of course, your show for news, notes, reviews, and opinions on the world of Japanese pro wrestling. Right here on CageMatch.net and all over the world, wherever you're listening to. I'm so happy to be back. It's been a little while, and the most important part of the show, of course, is not that I'm here. It's that we are in a return to form, our first show in a little bit, almost a month, because of course I'm joined by my regular co-host, my amazingly talented, amazingly smart, and amazingly well-traveled friend, STRIGGA.
Hello, I'm back. It has been quite a while. Things happened. Lots of things happened in the meantime. Christmas happened. The New Year happened.
That's true.
Japan happened. Me coming back from Japan, catching a horrible bronchitis. That happened as well. We actually wanted to do the show a bit earlier, but the first week of January, Dylan, you were sick.
Yeah, we were both sick.
Then I was sick, so it didn't really match up. But today, all the stars aligned, and we're back together. The Eastern Lariat boys are back together to catch up on what happened in Japan.
That is true, and I think this is why you wanted me to lead off the show. Usually you are the point man for the show, as we are here together. This is kind of the second one, because we did have the prediction show where you bopped on for the last half of the show there, which was a lot of fun, by the way. I really enjoyed our portion of it, and even the listeners. We got a lot of great predictions from a lot of different people out there. Some of them were completely unhinged, which we always appreciate. So that's the thing. I did not put any rules to predictions. I said they could be easy, they could be like really logical, they could be crazy, like way out in the distance, shots in the dark. I'm all for it, and we got a lot of great stuff there. And you had some great predictions too, STRIGGA, as well. So we will talk about everything going on, but the big thing, yes, Japan did happen. It is a country. It is not a figment of your imagination.
No, it is real. It is very real, yes.
But what he specifically meant by Japan happening is that he was there. All of these shows that we're going to talk about, he was there, just like Brian Williams, except you actually were there and you didn't make it up here. So you have a lot to talk about. I mean, the thing is, we're going to talk about the big stuff, and we're going to talk a lot about that. But you were at like 1 zillion shows in Japan, as I understand it.
I actually could have gone to more shows, specifically in the first couple of days. So I landed in Japan late on the 27th. And by the way, going in that direction from Europe to Japan, that turned out to be a great decision I started in Germany late on the 26th, and I was in Japan late on the 27th. It was such a long trip that in the end, was tired, and I could go to bed in the evening hours in Japan, which was really good. So my jet lag wasn't really bad. On the first day, when I was sitting in Sumo Hall at DDT, there were a couple of moments where I almost fell asleep, not because of the show, but just because of all the traveling that I did, and all the impressions that I had on the first day, which was really overwhelming in a lot of ways. I could have gone to more shows. For example, on the first day, I met Sondre. Hi, Sondre. It was a great time in Japan. It was lovely meeting you. It was lovely spending time with you. I met Sondre on the morning of the 28th of December, and we had breakfast at a really lovely place in Iidabashi. Then went to Kurken Hall to buy tickets for some of the first shows that we wanted to see there, or for all of the shows that we wanted to see in Kurken. And while we were going to Kurken, up to Kurken, to the 5th floor, we noticed that there actually was a TTT show happening in Kurken, and I had forgotten about that. I actually considered going to that show, but I wasn't sure about the jet lag that I would have, so I didn't buy a ticket before going to Japan. We could have still gone to the show, but we just figured, did you just buy tickets and just go and see some more of Tokyo instead of going to TTT? I know that Jace went to TTT. Shout out to you, Jace, Mr. Wrestling 2 on Twitter. He went there, but Sondre and I just went to DDT that day. Sondre went to Seadring the day before as well. So he went to more shows than I. But I went to 11 shows in 9 days. That was good too, I think. So yeah, DDT was the first show of the trip. To Kurken. Kurken, of course, it's great buying tickets at Kurken Hall because there is all these bunch of services that you can buy tickets from. There's Lawson, there's E+, there is Pia, and there is also LivePocket. And LivePocket is good because you don't have to buy actual physical tickets. You could just go with a QR code. But for example, when you buy multiple tickets on LivePocket and you want to sit next to each other, it will just give you random seats aligned to each other, and you just can't choose where you sit. That can be kind of a hassle when you actually want to sit in the center of Kurken Hall. When you go to Kurken Hall and buy tickets there, they have a printed out chart with each seat that is still available on that day. So I presume that on each day, they print out a new chart with tickets still available, and you can just choose where you want to sit, which is where Sondre and I bought the tickets for the All Japan show on the 2nd, where we sat across the hard cam. And I also bought tickets for TJPW, sitting in the orange seats on the south side of Kurken Hall, which is where you get kind of the best view of everything. So yeah, that was the first impressions that I actually had from Japan. Mm-hmm. We went from Suidabashi, where Sondre stayed. We went to Ryogoku, and just being in the train, just arriving at Ryogoku station was just something very special to begin with, because that was my first show. I mean, the first show in Japan was in Sumo Hall. It was a DDT show, one of the big DDT shows in Sumo Hall. And walking up to that venue, that felt really, really special. We got in, and you got to know that about all of these Japanese venues, there is no back control. You can take into the arena whatever you want. When we went to the Tokyo Dome for Wrestle Kingdom, there were signs on the outside that said no drinks and no food. So we figured, maybe we can't take everything in there, but we could have. So they just will look into your bag, but they will not search your bag. I guess they don't want to invade your privacy so much. So they just very politely look into your bag and say, yeah, that's all right. So we placed everything that we bought at the bottom of our bags and brought it in. We didn't buy a lot to bring into the Tokyo Dome because the Tokyo Dome has such a vast variety of different food that you can get there. For example, I got a avocado beef sandwich that came with chips on the side. That was so great. And one of the positives of Japan is the IC card system. They have different prepaid cards that you can use. For example, at Haneda Airport, when you come in, as a foreigner, you can buy a so-called welcome Suica card. Suica is a system, a prepaid card system that you can use to virtually purchase everything on these vending machines everywhere. You can buy stuff inside the Tokyo Dome. There were all these ladies going around. We were sitting in the inner field of Tokyo Dome, and there were ladies selling soft drinks and beer, and I could just get a beer by holding my Suica card to their card machines. And I could also use the Suica card to go with all the trains in Tokyo. So that was just such a convenient system, being able to pay everything with one card. So I got that card, and then Sondra and I went to Ryogoku, brought some food, brought some drinks, and I just sat down. On the right side of me, there was this elder Japanese couple that had such a great time watching DDT, specifically Dino, of course. And on the left side of me, very randomly, I sat next to an American guy called Logan. So Logan, if you're listening to this, shout out to you. You were sitting next to me at my very first Japanese show. I met him again at Noah, and I met him again in Kurokan Hall for TJPW on January 1st. So there were a lot of foreigners, but some of them you always met at the same places,
Now, this show, remember, let's not forget when you were at Royal Quest, this show did reunite you with the one who met you there.
Yes.
For the live.
Yes.
So, we got our YouTube comment on that. Right. So, Logan, please comment to us and let us know. Let us know you're doing okay, my friend.
Yes. So Sondra and I went to DDT, went inside. We looked around and we saw Chris Brooks' queue. That queue was crazy, but not as crazy as the queue on the 3rd of January. I think we queued for about 45 to 50 minutes, and it was about time that the show was going to start. And some DDT dude walked up to Chris Brooks to apparently tell him, Chris, the show is about to start. You got to get backstage. But the queue was still so long. And there was this dude standing in front of us. I think he got nervous. He was also he was standing in front of us, also queuing for 45 to 50 minutes. And when he almost reached Chris Brooks, he couldn't hold it anymore. And he just went and left because he apparently wanted to get to his seat. I felt for the guy. And we went there. I bought a long sleeve, a really good quality long sleeve, by the way. Got a photo with Chris, and from there we went to see DDT.
Yeah, and the thing is, I really have to say I'm doing this show a bit under protest, STRIGGA, because there were some people who forgot about things, forgot about how many tickets they got you, and so on and so forth. And in protest, I forgot that I watched this show, this DDT show here. But now that you mentioned it, I was like, oh yeah, they did have Ultimate Party. We are supposed to talk about that here.
Ultimate Party was my favorite show of the trip.
Really? Your number one show?
My number one show was Ultimate Party.
Well, we're going to have a lot of differences watching it home from inside, I can promise you
sure. That is what always happens when you watch wrestling. The thing you got to think about, Dylan, is the value that you get when you're at a live DDT show is just unmatched with anything in Japanese wrestling that you get. I bought a ticket for approximately 55 euros, I would say. I was sitting at the first floor, which is basically the balcony in Sumo Hall. I was sitting left from the stage, so I could see basically everything that was going on right above from there. Had I sat at the ground floor, I talked to Michelle before that. Shout out to you, Michelle, by the way. She said, if you're not getting the first 3 to 4 rows in the arena seats, you basically don't see anything. So I specifically got the first floor tickets, so I could see everything from up there. And the value is just incredible. You get this 5-hour DDT show for 55 euros, and the entertainment value is just so enormous. And I gotta say, I really loved the KOD tag team title match. There was a great match live.
That was the best match on the show to me.
Yes, absolutely. I had so much fun watching Dino wrestle the Invisible Man. I thought that Dino did a great job of doing that.
That was one of the better Dino matches, I have to say.
Yeah. And I also enjoyed Yuki Ueno and Takeshi Masada a lot. And also, the undercard was really fun to see, just as a fan, just sitting there enjoying the card. DDT has such a great variety of different talents and different matches that you you will just sit there and be entertained. And how awesome, Dylan, was this debut of the Kumadori guy, who just bursted out these crazy kicks and the Sky Twister press from out of nowhere.
Yeah. The thing is, so what you said is kind of a thing, I think, where we're going to differentiate a little bit. And that is that this show was so long.
Yes.
And yes, if you're there live, I'm sure you love it and it's great. I mean, it's got... The thing is, the real problem is, if you're a DDT fan, you will love this. I'm really not a DDT fan. I would not categorize myself as that. I mean, I appreciate some of the stuff they do. I respect a lot of their talent, and there were some good matches on the show. Don't get me wrong, but I think a big issue with this, and why I think a lot of the undercard didn't connect with me. I mean, that was cool, like the Kumadori thing. Obviously, Hirata is like one of my favorite guys. Akito is one of my favorite guys. Obviously that was cool. The problem is that we were building up to a Daisuke Sasaki main event, which made me not want to watch the show at all, actually. And that was kind of in the back of my mind this whole show. And there was some good stuff on the undercard for sure. I'm not hating on them at all. I thought Sakuraga's debut was about as fun as it could be in the circumstances.
Yep.
Haruto Sakuraba, of course. I thought the TJP wrestlers did a fine job in their match as well. Misao is like made for this kind of show.
Absolutely.
Like her going as SSM, Honda, like all these goofy people that they have. It's like perfect. Like perfect for what you want. I thought the Keno match was good as well.
Yep.
Keno and Owada versus Nakamura and Naoki. They get two of my favorites in DDT, Nakamura and Naoki. I thought they worked a very fine match. And Owada, we'll talk more about him when we get to know him, but I think he has a ton of upside. Super happy he got the spot. The Dino and Invisible Man match was really like, okay, this is what DDT wants. Like, this is like the perfect encapsulation of DDT here.
I mean, and I thought you just got to think about that they specifically put this match into the holy place of sumo wrestling.
Yeah.
A gay wrestler wrestling an invisible man.
An invisible man, yes. And not just a gay wrestler, like an extremely like perverted one on top of it. Like he's not just a normal gay wrestler. He's like a completely over the top offensive parody, some people would argue, of one. But it worked perfectly for what they wanted out of their thing. And so I thought it was like really good. A lot of these Dino matches I hate like viscerally in my heart. like most of his matches. This I did not hate at all. I thought it was like a perfect usage of him here. The tag match, as you said, to me was the best match on the show. But I think in general, though, we have to admit that if you're going to a show like this, and again, knowing who's in the main event and what kind of match that's very, very likely to be. Yep. We can never completely write off anybody. Like, who's to say that Sasaki can't have an amazing performance in a match? We can't know until it happens. We have many, many years of evidence that shows that will likely not happen, but you cannot completely write it off. The fact is, if you go to a show like this, you're not going in there to see Bryan Danielson level wrestling, where it's going to be this amazing 5-star match on here. You're going for something else entirely, and they deliver what they cater to in their audience. And that's true of all of their major shows. And why they're so successful is that they know their audience and they specifically cater to them rather than cater to, oh, well, Dylan Fox says he didn't like the main event, so therefore we have to change everything. They say, no, like we have our fan base. And I mean, the show did pretty good. It was like 3,500 people for business-wise. It was less than Stardom, less than the other show they did earlier in the year, but it was fine. Like overall, no real complaints, I'm sure, on the show. They had a lot of special guests that they're known for and all of that. You got the cool stuff, and they've really, and this is going to be something I really think, and we got a prediction on that, the prediction show, that said this. DDT is almost certain to really rely more on these celebrity people to wrestle. Like, we see it with Kumadori, we see Takechi, we see it with the other one. So it's like we've got all these people, and I think there's only going to be more and more of that because it's always successful at the end of the day. It is. So you cannot.
And I gotta say, if they have guys like Kaiser Takechi and like this Kumadoric dude. They are great at wrestling. I mean, they are celebrities, but they are so good at it.
But the thing is, these guys have athletic backgrounds. Clearly, they're not like the politician that wrestles with all.
Shikawa Matsu, man, what a dude.
Which I, by the way, I thought was funny. Like I did not mind that at all. But these guys are like legit athletes. Like have great dancing backgrounds and clearly have a love for the game. You know, like they clearly are into this wrestling thing. They're having a lot of fun doing it. And they put their heart into it, and that's the kind of key to success when you're a celebrity guy. You know, whether it's a WWE person or all the way here in DDT. Like, if you have a real love for it, that's going to go a long way. Like, you know, at the end of the day, it really is. I don't think people really recognize that if you haven't wrestled. Pure love for it will get you a long way, and it really can get you a long way if you have base athletic ability as well. So Ueno Masada was a good match as well that you mentioned. You know, I think that, again, though, I have to say, like, even these matches, they were good. I wouldn't say, and I think they also maybe suffer for us. We're 2 weeks out from it now. That does need to be mentioned, and there was a lot of shows that happened after it. For me, these matches were not that special in all perfect honesty. I thought that they were good for what they were. I think DDT did great in servicing their audience. I thought the main event was absolutely horrible. And really, that's the first thing I think about with the show is the main event, unfortunately.
See, and that is where it's completely different from the experience in the building, Dylan.
Yeah.
The crowd absolutely loved it, and you get
that's true
with the flow. Sondra and I immediately said it after the show. This completely was a match for the live crowd. There were so many over-the-top spots. There were so many near falls that I would have, if I had seen the match like you on the stream, I probably would have hated it as well. But me being in the venue, being within the DDT audience, this was a exciting match to cap off a great DDT show for everybody that was around the show.
And I don't doubt that at all. Again, this is a DDT show. Like, this is what their audience. I have no problem with them pushing Sasaki because he has this lineage there, and they're fans there of Damnation as much as I personally may not. I love them. So yeah, it worked for the DDT fans, no doubt. I would never argue that. Just for me, it was something that was. It just wasn't something I liked, ultimately. Like, I can't really go into too much more depth into it. We got too much stuff to talk about, really, to go over all the things wrong with it, in my mind. But overall, you know, the show had to be considered a success for DDT's audience. And there was a lot of fun undercard stuff. I undersold it a little bit, but I stand by what I said. I was really not happy going into the show because of the main event, ultimately. And I knew what it would be. I knew how it was going to go, and they did not do anything to make me think they even tried to do something different than what I knew they were going to do. So it is what it is at the end of the day. And of course, if you were there and you loved the main event, then yeah, you're going to love the show because there was a lot of good stuff on there.
Yeah,
I just don't think it really broke off as to anything too special. I actually think the Dino match was the most memorable match on the show, and that's not something you would really have me say in most nights.
I mean, it's a DDT show. If the Dino match is the most memorable match of the show, that's completely fine.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Well, but normally I don't like that stuff. I find it kind of offensive.
Okay.
So, you know, but I think that in this specific instance, like, this isn't like, you know, he's not, you know, it's an invisible man. So it's not like real, you know, assault or anything like that.
What are you saying, Dylan?
Yeah. It's not
Do you
a real
not believe in the invisible man?
Much so, well, you know, I guess everything's built on your own beliefs, right? At the end of the day,
that's true.
So yeah, I guess you may be right on that, but you know, yeah, like you said, it really worked for the DDT fans, and that's great that you loved it so much. Overall.
Yep. Funny thing, after the show, we went to Ryogoku, to the part of the town, and not to the venue, to the part of the town, actually, and wanted to get something to eat. It was not really that easy to find a space for 5 gaijins to get dinner at that point in the evening because the show started at at 2 p.m. and ended around, what was it? 2 p.m. around 7, I think.
Oh.
And everybody was just already out at dinner. Finally found a place where we had to wait a bit. Then we got a table and were served. Yeah, we were served some drinks. We never got the main menu, actually, which was kind of ridiculous, but that happened. And we went to pay in the end. And I had some cash that I brought with me from Germany. And I wanted to pay with a 2,000 yen bill. And at that point, I had no idea how crazy that sounded to all the Japanese around me, because I found out that the 2,000 yen bill is actually not produced in Japan. It's only produced abroad. And it's kind of unusual that anybody has a 2,000 yen bill. So the waiter asked me 3 times if I really wanted to give up my 2,000 yen bill. And I just said, yeah, I mean, I got 3 more. And he just looked at me, oh, wow. And I tried to pay at Family Mart at one of those convenience stores later on, and they wouldn't take it. The machines there, they don't take it. I was able to top up my Suica card on the official machines inside the stations, and I was able to pay with the 2,000 yen bill at Tochigi Pro /01 as well. They didn't mind.
I'm not surprised by that at all.
To sell tickets.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
so
no surprise.
they were taking it, but lots of places didn't. That was an experience.
Well, I mean, that does sound like an experience, to be honest. But like you said, I love how, listen, this is a good lesson for any travelers out there in the future.
Yeah.
If you're ever in doubt and you need to spend money somewhere, go to a wrestling show. They will take them.
Exactly.
Promising. Like, doesn't matter if anyone else doesn't.
That was, by the way, the best way. You always get these coins, and there is even 1 yen coins that you can do nothing with.
Yeah.
And I always, not always, but 2 or 3 times, I dropped all of the change that I had to the collection for Shinjiro Otani 8. I thought that was a good cause to just drop it there.
Absolutely. Good stuff there.
Yeah.
Hopefully that can continue to be wildly successful
Hopefully.
as well. Yeah, hopefully for the best there. Shout out to Otani. Hopefully his recovery can grow in the future. I know I want to go real quick before we get on to where you were actually at. I did want to mention the Stardom show that happened right after Ultimate Party, the day after at Sumo Hall. They did 4,000 fans there, and the show was pretty like everything they did had purpose outside of like 1 or 2 matches, and they really solidified. Like, they ended the year perfect for where they were at. This has been a very common talking point on our YouTube videos. We often have discussions about Okada as a booker and the crazy stuff he's done this year. But they showed with this show that they had at least goals in mind, and they really met them. I would say up and down. I mean, you saw the crowning of Wing Gory as Goddesses tag team champions. The match was good, but the main thing was Wing Gory getting the win.
Uh-huh.
Ano beat Iwata because Iwata has to lose all the time, no matter what promotion she's in, guaranteed.
Oh no, the fire alert.
Yeah, that's
I guess the little two. Okay, there you go. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah, Iwata always has to.
We didn't have the fire alert in a long, long time. Actually, one of the specialties of the show.
Unfortunately. So anyway, Ano and Iwata was a good match, though. In all honesty. Very good stuff. The Konami stuff was really sad to watch.
That was so horrible. Yeah.
Like I said, that sucked. I will say that the Maika and Natsuko Tora match had to be the best Tora match ever.
I absolutely agree with that. Tora was so incredible in that match, and Maika bleeding buckets, that just was an incredible visual. Tora dragging her around Sumo Hall, just an amazing match, yeah.
And they worked it like a true deathmatch style as well with the cans. They came out with the cans. They went with the fork. The blood was crazy. Maika went full baby face, bleeding buckets.
Yeah, just a couple of minutes in, she was just soaking red.
And on top of it, yeah, like you said, Tora had a great performance as the heel character that she's always wanted to portray. I thought this was the most successful version of that we've seen. The kid.
It's unfortunate that she had already won the red belt, because I think at that point when she was champion, it wasn't really her time, and it was a very short run. So it's unfortunate because you can never put that run back. But right now, after that match, I think she would be ready for a run.
The thing about Tora is that they've tried really hard with her over the years, and like it's really came up short pretty much every time. This really felt like the first time they fully realized, and perhaps even her herself realized her full vision of what she wanted to be as the top heel level player in the company. And I think Micah deserves a lot of credit for being a willing babyface for that. And I think that's going to be the hard part, is like, will everyone go to these lengths that Micah did in terms of the blood? And it's very, it's very unusual for a Stardom show. I mean, I remember when they did the death match, the exploding bat death match, when it was Tom Nakano and Io Shirai back then. The fans really didn't like that at all. But now it's a whole new fan base, whole new level of people. I think maybe after the dump show happened, had popularity, this might give it more credibility in the fans.
Yeah, I guess so. Mm-hmm.
But great match, though. Like, for real, very good. All three of the last three matches were well worth watching. Kid and Natsupoi, the white belt match was awesome. They told a great story with them being in the same class in 2015, all those years ago. And this was really like the perfect point to crown Kid as a mainline player in the company. And they needed it. And that's another thing they did here. Like, this is the culmination of their people. Like, these are the people we knew were going to be the top stars of the company for a long time now, even when Rossi was there. It was going to end up with these two people with the belt. But they were able to get there in their own way. And obviously the red belt was vastly different than anybody expected, considering what happened. But Kid and Poi, that was like a match of the year level match, in my opinion. It has a 9.19 rating on Cage Match, 4 3/4 from Meltzer. The maximum a women's match can get from Dave Meltzer at this point, as we've proven many, many times that he refuses to grade any women's match 5 stars.
That's so funny,
for whatever reason. Mainly because it gets some publicity, I think, is why he doesn't do that.
Maybe. Yeah, what I also want to give a shout out to Natsupoi. Was a great opponent for Starlight Kid in that situation. It was weird, though. I mean, Natsupoi always wears white, but Starlight Kid also chose to wear white in the match. So it's unfortunate when two wrestlers face each other wearing the same gear color. That always gets me kind of off the match in a way. But Starlight Kid was amazing in that situation, and Natsupoi always is a great player for Stardom. I think she has over-delivered from what you could expect from her coming into the company years ago after being in TJPW. She has developed into being a great, great star for the company, and here helping to build another one with Starlight Kid, finally getting the Wonder of Stardom title. Just, like you said, she was an amazing performance.
And Poi, to me, is one of the best in the whole company. I think she's proven that the whole year. Really deserved a lot. She should be one of the top contenders next year for things. She should be like a top tier player to me. And she was a great white belt champion. Kid, going back to the white was a big part of the story, though, because it was kind of like when she first came in, she was Io Shirai's pet project. Like the one that she helped train. And you can still see it to this day. She has a lot of Io's mannerisms. If you look at her, how she wrestles and the moonsault and all that stuff. But she went on this dramatic heel turn against Mayu Iwatani, which became her actual story because Io left. So really, Mayu was kind of translated as like her mother figure, so to speak. And then she went and broke off on this heel run with a Wado tie for a long time. Her coming back to her roots and going back to the original gear to get the white belt was an amazing moment. And really justified everything that happened like this year to it, coming back in. So it really actually made sense story-wise, but I get where you're coming from, that they both wore the same color. Main event was great. I thought it was a well-done version of this heel type of match. They brawled, they hung Tom by the chain from the rafters, which was crazy.
That was a great visual.
Yeah. And then it basically led to this whole heel character of Tall Saya, where she not only won the match, then afterwards she basically said, "Since I'm the champion, you have to pass the torch to me and put the belt around my waist." And then when she did it, she then smacked her upside the head, which was a huge bitch moment, which she's great at playing. like she's done a great job, much better than I think anybody could have anticipated. Because I remember when she,
that heel turn didn't come across well. I wasn't a fan of it, but she managed to get into that role, managed to play the role perfectly in that match. Here with Tam being the face, and Saya Kamitani was just this brutal and annoying heel that was out to ridicule the babyface champion, and she managed to do that perfectly.
And like, she's played it great in the interviews. Like, her character is so like just a pure heel. She really gets in her way a lot of others don't, actually. I feel like they're either over the top cartoonish, or they want to be a cool, like they want to have their own fans. And I mean, she kind of does it in a way that's very condescending. She called her own fans like her slaves afterwards. And was like, they'll like me no matter what I do, so I could just be a horrible person and it's fine. And she talked mad trash about Tom afterwards. And she, like I said, it's something everybody thought, man, this is crazy. Why are they turning Kamitani heel? And then it turned out that it really worked out in the end. So I think they deserve credit for doing a bold move that we all criticized at the time and thought was crazy. Like, why would you do this? Your whole build-up the last few years has been leading to Kamitani being the ace of the company. And then, I mean, she's done a fantastic job as a heel. Very annoying and unlikable. And I think it helps her matches to really remove. She doesn't have to do all the flashy stuff that she wasn't always capable of doing as a babyface. I actually think it's helped her in ring as well, in my opinion. I wasn't always a big fan of hers, to be honest. I know a lot of people loved her, but as a babyface, like white belt champion, there was a couple of matches you could point to, but I still think she was really flawed as a wrestler. And I think they've really cut down on a lot of the stuff that she just was not able to do effectively with this heel run. And I think it's led to some great changes. Again, like a very bold move that ended up working out. So, and this show, again, 4,000 fans. This is one of their biggest shows in the history of the company. They've really done a great job of rebounding. Like 2023 was like a horrible year for the company. Like things just totally bottom out. And it ended, and this year started with Rossi and the horrible backstage turmoil that was going on. And by the end of the year, they've really been able to right the ship. I think that deserves a lot of credit, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they've turned that around. Yep. Wouldn't have thought that would have been possible here at the end of the year to deliver that kind of a show in that kind of a way, establishing two new stars in their own way, in their completely different way. I mean, that is a match down the line, Starlight Kid and Saya Kamitani.
Yeah, like these two are going to be the prime pillars, so to speak, whatever you want to call them. Like, they're going to be the ones at the top of the company, and they've set this up for years. Like, it's not like it just started this year and Ogawa's plans magically changed. They've been like planting the seeds for Saya and Starlight to be the future aces of the company for a long time now. Like I said, things had to go a different way with people leaving. And stuff like that opened the doors up and maybe a little sooner than they would have wanted. I think Saya would have gotten there. I think if Ogawa had stayed, she would have stayed babyface. But I think this year was going to end with her with the red belt, one way or the other. And I think that they did it in a completely different way. So very good stuff there. From there, we got to talk about the All Japan show that you went to.
Yep. On the 30th, just very quickly, that show has not aired yet. I went to Chocopro. First time ever being in Shinjuku Face. Shinjuku Face is an incredible building. I love it. Also in this building, there is really no bad seat either. I sat in the second row twice, was able to see everything there. 323 fans for Chocopro. That was one of the shows that I really wanted to go to because I always enjoy the shows that they do in the Shinjuku Face. Very great. And we had Mei Suga defending the Super Asia title against Saki in the main event. That was a really good match. Also, three-way for the Asia Dream Tag Team title, in which Antonio Honda and Tokiko Kirihara won the championship from Koshi Ikawa and Sayaka Obihiro. Good stuff there. Fun stuff in the undercard with Balian Aki as well. Hagana Shino was on the card. So lots of fun at Chocopro.
Yep, as you would always expect, like with Chocopro. The All Japan show, though. This was from Yoyogi. 2,500 fans in attendance for this. And we knew it was going to be a big show like before. Like, we had the pre-sale tickets were already strong. And they ended up pulling the trigger, as I talked about on the before. I thought, look, if this show does a big number, you have to really consider going all the way with the Saitos.
Yes.
And they did it.
I was kind of expecting it, to be quite honest. Specifically also for the reason that this Davey Boy Smith Jr. run hasn't lit the world on fire, to be real honest about it.
It was only a month though, but I mean you're not wrong.
Still though, there was no juice behind that run.
I mean I agree. I'm just saying it was like they didn't really. It's not like they gave him a chance with it. They just moved on. the Saitos very quickly.
For the better. They did.
Well, they should have. Again, regardless of who the champion is, the Saito brothers should be the main eventers of this company going forward. Like, at the end of the day, like there was no reason to wait for it. Davey Boy, like you said, the thing is, we talked about that when he won. Like, any value he could have is really outside of the ring. Like, like it's not him as a champion is not going to do it. Like at the end of the day, and it didn't. And by the way, this match sucked for the record.
This match totally sucked. Yeah.
Yeah, I was hyped. There
was really no redeeming quality to that match, and that is not a good sign for a veteran like Davey Boy, man.
Like I said, and I think he's the kind of guy that really works in a very specific situation. Like it takes a very specific kind of opponent, like a Kento level player that can really bring the best out of him. Jun is a good he's great at being Jun Saito. I wouldn't say he's a great technical wrestler, which is what Davey Boy wants to be at the end of the day, and that's why their styles clashed in a terrible fashion. Ultimately.
Yeah. I mean, it was unfortunate because before that we had this incredible All Asia Tag Team title match with 4 of the hottest stars in the entire company.
That was great.
It was the Ryo Inoue show. This match was designed to get this guy to another level, and they completely succeeded with that. He had so many great moments with both Yuma Anzai and Rising Hayato, but specifically with Yuma Anzai. Yuma worked his ass off to make Ryo Inoue a star in that match, and I thought they were completely successful with that. Kento Miyahara obviously brought his part to the match. Rising Hayato brought his part to the match, but really the centerpiece, the center focus of that match was Yuma Anzai and Ryo Inoue, and I gave that match 10 out of 10 on Cage Match. I loved that match to death. While DDT was my favorite show, this was my favorite match of the trip.
Yeah, I do want to say too about the main event. They actually had a much better match earlier on in the year. Like, too, that's another reason why this match was so disappointing. Oh yeah, they had. Right. Like I said, so like we have to be fair on that overall, and for whatever reason, this just didn't work. The tag match was fantastic. Like you said, Inoue and Anzai. Anzai is just like an unbelievable level talent. Like to me, I think he's legitimately the best. Like you could argue he's the best wrestler in Japan. Like in terms of pure talent wise, to me, he makes everything work no matter the circumstances. Inoue, somebody I've been a huge fan of since his debut, and said he had a ton of potential. Could be the workhorse of the company one day, and he showed here that he can be like that too. So you did great stuff here, and then Inoue is just so great at this match in the hands of different. Like if you worked this exact same match with different wrestlers, it wouldn't have worked nearly as much. They actually made basic stuff. Anzai and Inoue specifically made basic, fighting spirit type of stuff go to that next level that other people couldn't get it to because they worked so well. And Anzai's just, I get it. He's just great at everything. Like there's no role he cannot succeed in that we've seen so far. And in a way, the thing is, he is a guy that, you mentioned it on the prediction show. You were talking about Hayato as like a potential Triple Crown finalist level guy that if they want to build this
Champion Carnival.
Yeah, Champion Carnival finalist. Yeah. Champion Carnival finalist level guy. And I think that they are showing that they're kind of breaking away from the old ways where it has to be all giants and stuff. I don't think there's any reason Inoue can't be a heavyweight when you've got Ashino there like already. And I mean, they haven't got behind him that much since he's come back from injury. But you see guys Hayato and Inoue, they could be like main event level players if they so chose.
Hayato is so much more charismatic than Satoru Ashino is.
That's true.
So I absolutely am behind that idea of Rising Hayato moving on to the heavyweights and being in the Champion Carnival. I think that has to happen this year. So yeah, like I said, I mean, with these two, they have great talents on their hand, and this crowd, I mean, 2,500 people for Yoyogi. It was slightly down from last year's show, but I mean, last year they had the rematch with Kento and Katsuki Nakajima.
Yeah.
So no match this year would have been able to reach that kind of match. And for that,
this wasn't even
it wasn't even down that much. So it goes to show how successful All Japan was throughout the year, rebuilding from that Nakajima fiasco.
And this wasn't even a well-built two match at all. Like the main event, it was literally out of nowhere. No one expected it before it got announced.
It really was.
So
true.
Like we all thought it would be Kento and Davey Boy, like before the tournament started.
Yeah.
And I mean, the thing is, the Saito brothers are so hot right now. I fully agree with them putting the title on Jun Saito. I don't know. I've always actually thought Ray was a little bit more interesting than Jun as a wrestler. I don't know if I'm alone in this or what the general business is.
Yeah, he certainly has more of an edge than Jun Saito.
But he did shave the beard off.
He did, yeah. That made
which sent Twitter into an uproar.
You're right.
Yeah.
Jun Saito always was the more clean-cut guy from these two.
Until now. Again, he shaved the beard. He's trying to prove you wrong, Strigga. That's why he did it. It was because of you.
I guess. Because of me. I hope not.
Hey, shout out to Ray Saito. Big fan of yours. Thank you for following us on Twitter.
Big fan of the eye spine.
See, look at that. The things are all lining up. Ray Saito, are you listening to the show? Let us know. And remember who put you over. It wasn't him. I said you were the better one first. No. But real talk though, Ray and Anzai's title match this year had to be one of the best of the year.
Oh, great stuff. Yes.
Yeah, I miss Anzai as champion.
Atsuki Aoyagi had a great return as well. Action.
That was great.
Alongside his brother, Aoyagi sure is going to have a run with the junior title this year. But I think maybe Musashi might win the title before him, and then Atsuki wins it back in the end.
That just kind of circles back to your previous point about the tag match, which is great. Like I said, I wouldn't say a 10 out of 10, but I like the rating 8.09 overall. Like that feels right to me. I thought it was like a 4-star match, legit. Which is a great match. I'm a hard grader. I don't give out 4 stars a lot. 8 out of 10. I'm real harsh on that. But when we talked about Hayato and Inoue jumping up, there's something to be said about keeping these guys as juniors to elevate the division some overall? Because if they leave, then suddenly the division looks pretty frosty without it's Atsuki and then it's like
Yeah, there's lots of outside talent. I mean, when you look at the actual opening match, of course we had Actress Time, Dylan. I don't want to not mention Actress Time this time because
you finally watched it.
I watched Actress Time. Yes,
yeah.
I did. When you look at the opening of the show, you have Fuminori Abe, you have Seiko Tachibana, Yuko Miyamoto, Musashi, Seki Yoshioka, and of course Taishi Nagao, who is extremely talented.
We love them so much. Yes.
Yeah, there's lots of talent from the outside. Musashi now being signed to All Japan. Seiko Tachibana sadly not going to be signed because he is part of Jiro Kuroshio Tokyo Japan's new promotion, whatever that's going to be. They have 3 people on the roster: Kuroshio, Momoko Hanazano, and him, Seiko Tachibana.
Horrible news.
But yeah, they rely a lot of on outside talent for the junior division.
Yeah, so I do think there's credence to keeping these guys as juniors, and I think that they want to do that. I think Dan is going to move up. I mean, he faced Sekimoto on the show, which was a nice match. I wouldn't say it was great, but it was a nice little match.
It was nice. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the thing is, like, this kind of
Sekimoto,
match,
it's time.
That's what I was going to say. Like, Sekimoto, if you put him in a big match, he could deliver. If you put him in 6 match from the top against a guy who's a junior heavyweight.
Yeah, I mean, he delivered when he was teaming with Hideki against the Saito brothers on the third.
That match was great. Yeah. We'll talk about that. Like, that match ruled. Again, that was a major match. That wasn't facing a junior heavyweight 5th match from the top.
Right.
Low level match. Like this show, I thought the Atsuki return was nice. I didn't think the match was that great, to be honest with you, overall. It just went too long. You can't be having IFA go these 20 matches.
It was fine.
Yeah, the All Asia tag match was the draw of this show. Like, if you're going to go back and watch anything, that's it. Everything else you can skip over pretty safely, I would say.
And I want to say about Yoyogi number 2.
Yeah.
It is just the perfect size building for a company like All Japan right now. It is... We had great seats. Got to give a shout out to Hartley Jackson, who got me the ticket here. Once again, sitting first floor here being very different to Sumo Hall. While in Sumo Hall it was very high up on the balcony, first floor meant you were just a little bit above the actual inner floor seating. But if you look at the photos that I took, we had perfect. We could see perfectly.
Yeah.
We could see everything, both the entrances and the ring, perfectly from there. And also, if we were sitting more higher up, you could also see everything because you were just looking down at the ring and at the inside of this almost circle field. And for a company like All Japan, you can pack a couple of more people into that building. I'd say you could go to up to 3,000, maybe 3,500 if you pack it to the max. Maybe even up to 4,000 if I'm thinking about it. But that should be it. But like for the company, having big shows in Yoyogi feels completely right. There was a great place for merch as well. You could queue up there. And just everything about Yoyogi was just very good. If they had a concession stand, it would have been even better. But they had vending machines, so that was cool too. But I loved going to Yoyogi.
What do you think about them putting the title on June? Like, and going forward in the future? Like, obviously, like, you wanted the title off Davey Boy, and that's correct. But what do you think about him getting the belt and where they're going to go with going forward?
I think Jun Saito lucked in to be there to get the title off of Davey Boy.
Yeah.
They didn't want to go back to Yuma Anzai, that is. They obviously didn't want to go back to Yuma Aoyagi, and they didn't want to go back to Kento Miyahara yet. So there is nobody from Elpida right now that's ready. But you have the Saito brothers, who are red hot as a tag team. So Jun Saito was there, and Jun Saito took the opportunity.
That was one of my predictions for the prediction show. If you wanted to have the biggest match possible for All Japan, have Jun carry this title for a long time and finally build to him versus Ray for the Triple Crown. Like, that could like be a major draw a year from now if they want to go that far with it. And like you said, it feels like any of these guys you said, obviously, it's like, for me as a fan, I would love to see Anzai get it because he has the best matches ultimately. But from a narrative perspective, any of these guys just feel like kind of old hat, right now. Like, it doesn't feel like the right time for Aoyagi or Kento or Anzai to get the Triple Crown. And beyond that, you have to build towards where you're going. And I think him versus Ray is the biggest match you could do with a Jun Saito title reign. Like, it would be stupid to me to end this title reign without doing that match, with all due respect. So I think that they have to plan for that. I mean, maybe they won't go the full year. Maybe they'll have another big show in their that they can build to later in the year. And we did get that weird interview from the president, where he was just talking some crazy stuff about the mastermind and all this. I was like, I couldn't believe what I was reading. I could feel like me and Irv were on the same wavelength online, where it's like this is insane. Like, why is he saying this publicly? But
yeah, I mean, I was kind of curious how the reaction to that would be in Hall on the 2nd, but literally nobody gave a single fuck about that.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't mention it on the show, obviously.
Obviously not. But even when he gave the talk at the beginning, or even when he was there to greet the fans in Hall, everybody was just walking by and saying, "Yeah, hi, whatever."
Well, last year they booed him, so I guess it's a better that he's improved.
It's better.
Last year.
It's better now. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess there's something, but he kind of said too, a part in the interview between all the nonsense he was talking with the mastermind. He was talking about how, like, don't set expectations too high for us to run bigger buildings. Like, we kind of want to keep going how we're going, which I think is fair. Like, honestly. So, I mean, I thought that was like one of the more logical parts of it.
Yes.
On there. So I did want to mention that as well. But moving on, New Year's show, Noah in Budokan Hall. Of all the venues you went to, because to be honest with you, the venues don't actually matter that much to me. In my opinion, like, in terms of like, I mean, it's cool, like, in a lot of ways, but it's nothing that really grabs me like one way or the other. It's more so the crowd in the venues. And to be honest with you, a lot of that has gone down over the years from when I first started watching Japanese wrestling. The crowds are not what they used to be in terms of crowd heat for any venue, I would say. But the Budokan is the one I got slightly jealous of you going to, because there's just so much history in it, where it's like, oh man, like, as I was telling you off the air, if you are a fan, if you're somebody who watched the All Japan in the 90s era with the Four Pillars and all that, any of their classic shows they used to air on Samurai, they would start off every match with that shot of the Japanese flag hanging in the rafters, setting up every single match. And I see it in my head right now. I'm sure if you guys watched it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But it just has so much history and build up there to where it's like, man, this is a legacy venue.
I told you off the air when we were talking about Budokan as well. I was staying in Jimbocho. That's a bit south from Sudobashi. And from there, where I was located, I could easily walk to Budokan. It was a 10 to 15-minute walk. Stopped at a 7-Eleven to get something to drink before getting into Budokan.
Did you get a Slurpee?
I did not. I did get a Suntory with a lemon and a Kirin beer, and also some onigiri and some chips, some edamame. That's what I got for Budokan. Walking up to Budokan was special. Just walking into that area, seeing that rooftop, that just felt right to watch a wrestling show there. And going into Budokan, quickly finding our seats. We were sitting on the hard cam side, just facing the stage. There was a perfect seat for us. Also, once again, first floor. First floor is my choice for all these shows, because you can see very well from there. I saw some people down in the arena seats. They had 6th or 7th row, and I don't think that I could have seen anything from there. That was one of the low points, actually. The tickets that we had for the Tokyo Dome were really good, but me just not being that tall, I wasn't able to see a lot of the ring mat for a Wrestle Kingdom.
Wow.
Yeah. But still, though, I enjoyed the show. But for Budokan, that was a great seat. I enjoyed it very much so. The show itself, it definitely convinced me to not follow Pro Wrestling Noah a lot in 2025. It's just not my cup of tea.
Well, you were already on the downswing. It's not
I was already on the downswing.
You were already.
I mean, they could have convinced me with a lot of stuff they had on the show. But
that it wasn't going to be good when you walked in.
Yeah, but I mean, they even disappointed me with Manabu Soya and Masaki Tamiya. That was the one match that I was really looking forward to. So
I was totally
even that.
That. Okay, let's go one step at a time here, because this was one of the things I wanted to ask you about immediately. And I don't know your reaction. I want to know it. Okay. Because I've said stuff for literally years. It's sad that this is the truth, that I've been saying this for years now. But now that you've been there live, you've watched the shows, can you finally admit that Kaito's not it as the champion?
Kaito's
he's the wrong person.
Kaito's toast. Yeah.
He's been toast. Like it's been this way for a long time. And this was just the latest. And like I said, this is the latest. It's not like this is the first thing that happened with him. But I was so confident that this was going to happen. Even though I was like not at all into this Team 2000 stuff. Like I really don't like this storyline at all. But when it happened, when he got the win, it felt like finally this company like got its head out of its ass for like one moment. like one moment. And again, I personally would have loved if they could have done a more straightforward story where it's like, okay, you did this when you were still good 6 years ago and you had respect. Now I'm going to do it now and do it better than you, and we will move forward with me as the champion. I think that would have been a lot better than the trying to stalk him on Twitter and try to reveal that he's smoking and all this stuff. I wasn't into that at all. But then you see him actually wrestle, and he's really just taken to this Team 2000 stuff.
Yeah.
To the point where he's so, like, he really gets it in a way it's really allowed him to unlock this new level of charisma that he really never had as a worker before. The breakdancing was awesome. the crowd loved him. He wrestles like the thing is he's a really talented guy as a
great
wrestler.
Yeah. Seen him in Germany a couple of times. He is a really great wrestler, but the vibe that he brings to the ring now is unmatched in a lot of ways. I was not expecting this reaction. I was shocked that Budokan was so much behind Osawa. There was this family sitting right from us, and they had this little daughter. She was so cute, and the mom, she was not sure what to do in the main event. It seemed like that she was like kind of on Kaito's side, but as soon as she saw that everybody around her was just screaming their lungs out for Osawa, she just joined in. She was right there with everybody. Everybody in Budokan felt it. Osawa was the guy that night. He had to win the title. He did. And man, in what a way this all came together with Team 2000X and him leading the charge there. The story obviously was what it was, but it was just perfect that night for him to win the title.
And what happened earlier, like this was actually good booking with the Omos coming in with the tag titles. Like Team 2000, like the whole crew now owns the company pretty much. Like they did it the right way.
Yeah, they brought in Tetsuya Endo from DDT.
Yeah, we're gonna get
the national champion.
Yeah, but just on that night, like they did it the right way. And Ozawa, I just thought his performance was spectacular. It is still there's part of me that looks at him and thinks, man, like he is the champion of this company that has such a great legacy with this title, but they had to do something. Like they could not keep Kaito as the champion. Like it was not going to ever work how he is right now. So they had to do something totally different. And their idea of different is to character assassinate Kaito for the last few months, and then have him lose, like he always does, to make him even less likable.
It's so funny, right? Kaito and all of his geeks, including Keno.
Yeah, Keno is a geek too.
They are in this stable called All Rebellion, right?
Yeah.
And I'll give you a shout out to Jenny. She said, what are they rebelling against? She also said it. I mean, he's the champion. What's the rebellion?
Yeah, I mean, they kind of mentioned that. Even Ozawa said that in his promo.
Exactly. And then there is this guy coming in who calls himself the real rebel, and they still continue to be all rebellion. That stable is just toast as much as Kaito is toast as a top guy.
Oh yeah. Well, the thing is, they never believed in him. Like it's just like I remember saying this last year when Keno.
None of the guys in All Rebellion believes in themselves.
Well, Keno believes in himself. Like they had a chance to do something with him, and remember, he lost the title right away to Wagner for 2 months.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. They didn't put him in the main event, and that's what I said. I remember us doing the review.
I mean, Keno believes in himself, but Keno doesn't believe in himself with All Rebellion.
It just feels like it doesn't matter if they believe in themselves. The company doesn't believe in him. Or he would have been the main event last year, and we wouldn't be doing what we're doing. Like all of the last year since him. So they don't believe in these people. To lead the company. Why even continue to goof around with them? This with Ozawa should have happened with Inamura. He should have been the one.
Yeah, he should have been the one.
Yeah, and we could have got to something great with Ozawa and Inamura in the future. Like I said, I've been pretty consistent that after the stuff with Muto and especially the thing with Okada, when he lost Okada, that was the death of him as any kind of top star for permanent. You could never say never, but in my opinion, everything they've shown us is that what it would take to get Kaito right is a complete overturning of everything about his character, and they've not shown any desire to do that.
And I'm not sure if he's able to do that.
And the thing is, even when he was the champion, and I remember he won the belt, and we were all happy about it, and that was cool. The one thing I didn't like, though, you go on his Twitter page, what was the first thing you saw when he had that belt on his profile picture? Was him doing the Muto pose in his profile picture. And it's this isn't the guy. That's all there is to it. He's not it. Ozawa has a chance to be something special, and they're doing great things with Owada. We'll talk about Endo in a second. When we wrap this show up. But they're doing some great things with the group, even though I was pretty skeptical of it at first. I think now that we've seen the plan formulate and play out, I like what they're doing with it, and it feels like, and a lot of even the Japanese comments on Twitter were really praising this as this is the kind of thing this company's needed. We've been wanting to see this for a while, this, shot in the arm, and paraphrasing here, but this is the change of direction that we wanted to see for a long time. And I think Ozawa is a great guy to do it with. I still think it's a little you're playing a character with him.
We'll see how much
mileage
this character has. Yeah. How many mileage you can get out of this character? Because it's been fine now ridiculing All Rebellion, but you can't build a title run around a guy that just is only there to ridicule everybody.
And the thing is, here, and we're kind of back to where, unfortunately, this was always your point why you supported Kaito as the champion, even though I said he was toast. There is no one else there, really.
There is no one else. No.
So
there's
who can
literally nobody else. The one guy that's there was in the semi-main event with Shinsuke Nakamura, and it was an atrocious match. Absolutely atrocious match.
You hated that match.
I hated that match.
I think on the Nakamura scale, it was okay, but I wouldn't say it was atrocious. It was 2 stars.
Look at this. Yeah, look at this match. It wasn't good. It was designed to be a match that was supposed to put Okazaki over in defeat. They did not achieve that.
This was a bad show, up and down. Let's just be honest. There's no.
There was one of the shows where I left the building the main event. Of course, the main event completely delivered, but everything else I was not a fan of. I was not a fan of the Kenta and Keno match. I was not a fan of the Galeno Del Mal and Wagner Jr. match. I was not a fan of Manabu Soya and Masaki Tamiya. Not a fan of Nakamura and Ulka Sasaki. None of those singles matches, they didn't deliver for me. Kenta and Keno may have been the one where I can say, okay, it was better than all these others. Yes.
Yeah.
But overall, this show was not good.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be that hard on it. I thought the Nakamura and Sasaki match. The problem is, I think Sasaki tried to do. He had a good. His heart was in the right place and his effort was in the right place. I just think Nakamura brings like so little to the table right now. And I just thought he didn't really. What motivation did Nakamura have to try hard in this match?
None.
Exactly, and that's what he gave us. The tag match I thought totally worked personally. Like Omos, that guy, if he wins the world championship, it would not surprise me at all. If he's the GHC heavyweight champion before the end of this year happened, it would. I'm not even joking. Like he is going to be the top star.
I get it.
The most popular person in this company. The fans love him and are amazed by him. And he's good in his way, his own way. Like I'm not saying he's great in, a traditional sense, but he does what he needs to do. Again, another bonus for Team 2000 there. Soya Kitamiya was not a bad match. I just think that the problem is I think you had expectations of Kitamiya getting a win here, and it didn't happen.
It was disappointing because it kept going, and it kept building, and then it ended.
Yeah, I mean, it was a 12-minute match. I thought it was like, this was the exact kind of match I kind of expected them to have, like a meat and potato style of match. It just was really not that interesting. Like, because, like, what are you going to do? And this is my issue with Soya always. He's good. And he's really worked hard. Like, you could tell how motivated he is on this run. But he's still Soya. Like, though, like, we're dealing with the guy who's been a nothing for over a decade now, and you're trying to push him as a main guy. And I think that's really hard. And I think he's not. I mean, there's just something missing.
They're not pushing him as a main guy. He's national title level.
The national title is.
He gets like some main events, but that's at lower ranked shows.
Well, but who's above him on the roster?
Above him right now, there's Osawa, there's Ulka Sasaki. Yeah, I don't think there's. He's getting there. He's surely.
Yeah, he's getting there. But I would say so. You've named two people.
There's Keno. There's Keno definitely.
I think that loss kind of made him look not good, to be honest. Like,
yeah, sure, but that was going to happen with Kenta. I mean, that's the thing. That's also the thing with Ulka Sasaki. Ulka Sasaki probably would have needed a win on the big show like this.
Yeah.
But that was not. That's not going to happen. That's also one of the things that we had with Muto coming in. Yeah. All these guys they are going to lose.
You're right. Like, I mean, there's no arguing what you're saying right now. I think if you could have worked it to maybe you flip the matches around and had Ulka beat Kenta, like if you could have worked it out, it'd be like, look, New Japan, this is going to be one of our guys. Like, this is going to be one of our top stars. Like, let's give Ulka his big moment. And then you could have Keno lose to Nakamura. I think that would have made a more well-rounded show, and you would have felt like you gained something from it.
I can see that. Yeah.
Well, because I don't think they gained anything. Like Ulka and Keno did not gain anything from these matches, in my opinion.
Nope.
I think the Keno match was good, but also we have to acknowledge that my expectations were so low for it that made it better to me. Because like when I say Kenta is literally usually one of my absolute least favorite workers, and it's a shame because he's one of my favorites of all time, and that's why I don't like him. Like watching him now, because I still remember when he was the best wrestler in the world. He was not the best wrestler in the world in this match. I'm not arguing that at all, but at least he was acceptable. He did what he could do to the best of his ability, which is still not a ton, but he was able to work a match that was at least proficient. They kicked each other hard, and I think a lot of people did like that match. I heard some good buzz about it. I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it either. I think the other ones were just kind of okay, So yeah, the show wasn't good. The Galeno match, I totally agree with. Nothing match. Galeno and Wagner.
Galeno also part of our rebellion now. Obviously, after he got put over by his brother, he now has to stick with the geeks.
Yeah, I mean, Wagner, you have to question. I mean, was it really worth this year-long contract? Like, to take the title?
Absolutely not.
Yeah. We'll see where he goes. I mean, we've had some contradicting on the prediction show. There were people predicting him to go to WWE, predicting him to go to New Japan. We'll see where he's going on there. But he basically just delayed the inevitable for a year, and they didn't really get anything out of it. So that's one of those, in hindsight, kind of very mysterious type of thing.
I want to say his final goodbye in Korakuen Hall was really great. The Japanese fans really took to him, love him. It goes to show how much he improved and how much he gained during his run in Pro Wrestling Noah.
But let me tell you this. Galeno has a great look. I don't blame him for wanting to push him as a main guy. Like, again, on this roster, there's no bad options to me. Like, if it's somebody new, then they need to get a shot because the people they have not been successful. Like, if you want to be really honest about it, the people they pushed over the last years have not been successful. And a lot of it's their own fault. I'm not taking the blame out. Kaito himself is a fantastic wrestler. It's nothing wrong with his talent. It's what they've done to him that makes him how he is. But right now, I'm at the point, if it's like, okay, look, if I see a new guy that has any kind of possibility of being something, then I have to push him, would be where I'm at if I run the company. What did you think about my favorite part of the show was the Odashima versus Fujita thing.
That was so amazing. That was amazing.
Again, I'm not joking around. Like, this
no, I loved it. I loved it.
Awesome.
I specifically loved the part that Minoru Fujita, I'm sorry, Katsuyuki Fujita fucked up the power bomb, so Odashima got a time withdrawal out of him. That was amazing.
I loved that. It was so good.
Again, and it was so weird, right? Because Fujita, he had this 8-man tag match before that. Everybody left, and he just stuck around and just stood there and said, "Yep, here I am. I'm wrestling this guy now." And they had this 1-minute match, and he fucked up the finish. I loved it.
It was awesome. Like I said, it was great. And I mean, it felt cool though for Odashima. Though, like, it felt like, okay, you actually accomplished something. And even though it's like not an accomplishment in reality, it made it seem like this huge deal. So that to me was my personal highlight of things. But yeah, the real main event. And Odashima has, by the way, great potential for the future. In all seriousness, like, the thing is with him and Owada, they have great rookies. Ozawa just coming back off of excursion. The problem is that you just said it yourself earlier. These guys aren't going to win anything. Like that was your issue with the show, and you were right. You correctly predicted that. And now you have to worry about this next generation. Are they just going to keep repeating the same bullcrap mistakes that they keep making? What evidence do we have that they're ready to change anything?
Osawa is the one exception that we have. The one exception. And they they really got to prove us wrong with another of their projects really hitting until we can really be convinced that this is going to be a course correction.
Who's to say that somebody doesn't take this title in a month or two, like from Ozawa, you know?
Sure.
Like, can you really write that off completely?
I had a great tweet in mind. I think it was it from Case? Someone said it online that Noah once again has this goodwill at the beginning of the year where they actually had some good decisions, but they are surely going to wash it away by March or April.
I mean, I hope not, because this does feel different than usual, because I think you've got a guy that the fans actually want to rally around, which I don't think Kaito has not been that in a long time now. Like, you know, so I think they actually have somebody that the fans want to get there. And things so far, like,
it would be stupid to derail this guy. Dylan. This is Pro Wrestling Noah.
That's the thing. To be fair, since that happens, they have had multiple shows and all of them have been successful. Like,
absolutely.
You know, and he himself also deserves credit for that. That Korakuen Hall show did 1,500 fans, and that's not something Noah's used to, by the way.
No.
In Korakuen. You mentioned it earlier. Let's get to it now. Endo basically announced he is going to be Noah full-time for now, going forward. And he started off winning the national title over Soya. So, what did you think of this?
Where do you go with Tetsuya Endo now after winning the national title? What else is there for him?
Well, I mean, just right off the start, he's kind of accomplished his goal. Like, the first night, that's kind of like, I get where you're coming. Well, here's the thing. I think him coming in is a great thing because it's something I've been calling for forever, that I think there should be more interaction between Noah and DDT in terms of switching people around, because people get stale. And you know who was really stale in DDT? Tetsuya Endo. Yeah, exactly. He would be near the top of my list if you were saying, okay, we need to freshen somebody up, moving to Noah. He would probably be right near the top of who I'd point to. With Noah, I would like to see Kotoge get a shot in the DDT if I had to pick. But this is a great start. And he's come across very energized. It feels like he's more motivated in this role. And he probably knew that he was going to get this run with the national title. And it's really brought a spark out of him in that match. I haven't seen in a singles run out of him in a long time. I really like the tag team with him and Ino burning. But I think as a singles guy, this is the most I've seen out of him in some time. Storyline-wise, again, the thing is, no matter who we talk about it, Noah, we're always going to the same destination. Who is there for him to feud against that's interesting?
Yes, that's the question, especially if everybody is in Team 2000X.
And that's but I like that. I think this company needed a hard reset, and I think now they're at a point with Team 2000 where, again, I haven't loved all of their antics, but I like the idea of this control the company stable.
Sure.
Because it allows you. The thing is, it allows you to build up the opposition. Mm-hmm. And that's what they've accomplished part one of this. That could be a great storyline. They have not accomplished part two yet, and they need to work on the opposition of this. And that's where that's where the struggle is gonna come. Because now you're looking at, because like we said, we're talking about Kaito, failed champion a zillion times over. Keno, he's most known for the YouTube stuff now, and it just came off a big loss to Old Man Kenta. Then you got Soya and Kitamiya. Soya at least has been pushed. Kitamiya's never was. Like they never cared about him. So it's like now what? And Go is going on the show. So
Go is going exactly. So that leaves you with Galeno del Mal.
Right.
Who else? Marufuji and Sugiura.
Yeah, Marufuji and Sugiura.
They got schoolboyed by almost in the tag title match.
Yep.
And there's guys like Alejandro, Kai Fujimura. They are all juniors.
Yeah, they're juniors. And not even push ones.
The one guy that there is Ulka Sasaki.
Yeah, that's true. That's the one person that at least that he hasn't been allowed long enough for them to screw up and make into nothing yet.
Yes, but realistically speaking, that is the guy that should be representing the company on the face side to eventually take the title.
I agree. And like the thing is that can work. I don't think it got off to a great start in that Nakamura match. Ultimately, I mean, you thought it sucked completely. You thought it was a terrible match.
Yeah.
And I thought it was like a nothing match. Like I don't have any positive feelings towards it at all. So maybe I'm a little bit more generous, but you're probably right. Ultimately, like that didn't accomplish anything. And like, what was the point of bringing Nakamura in? If that was the case, like you didn't get any. Well, he played a big role in drawing those 5,000 fans. To be fair.
Sure.
I think we have to be honest about that, as much as I might not be a fan of his anymore. But I think they really need to work hard on, again, building the opposition. And I totally agree with what you said. Sasaki should be the end game of all of this, that he's built up enough to hopefully and again, the thing is, there's nothing to say that Ozawa won't drop his title in a couple of months, and that changes everything. But if they are going to be proper about it, build, and then have Sasaki go for the title after an N1 win or something like that, that builds him up to the main event scene. But still, though, I think with this Team 2000, I will give them this. At least they have a plan for this company. Like, at least it's not just, we're just going to do the same crap we've been doing forever and, like, hope that it works out. There's at least a plan for this.
I want to say that the inception of Team 2000X was absolutely horrible.
Yes.
People laughed it off.
Yes.
But they turned it around successfully. And it's developed into a much more successful version of the House of Torture than the original House of Torture actually is. So I want to give it to Pro Wrestling Noah for turning that thing around.
They did, and I mean, they've got all the belts. Even the junior belts, they got Daga as the champion there, which...
Not anymore.
Oh, yeah, because Eita won the belt.
But remember my prediction, Dylan. Daga is going to win it 2 more times.
Yeah, he'll win. Like, he might not be there now, but he's going to get it back. No, don't worry about that. So they can do that. We'll see. But yeah, the show itself was not spectacular. The thing is, though, it's kind of weird because I think people left that show with way more goodwill than a lot of these other shows because of the main event being what it was, and then finally pulling the trigger on somebody new. Like, people were very positive on that show, but if you really look at the show up and down, I think there's a lot of issues. Like,
there's a lot of issues in this company.
And I think they got overlooked. I think people really a lot of people really loved that Kenta and Kendo match more than we did. And I mean, I didn't dislike it, but I liked it. But I wouldn't say I loved it overall. That you would have ideally had a lot more on this 10-match show or however many matches on there than that. The All Japan stuff. I mean, we got Hideki signed to All Japan afterwards. They announced it on the 2nd.
Great stuff, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice, and he's been a pretty great guy in the company, whether the tag run or in the singles. You had the Battle Royal. Atsuki won that. Miyamoto and Dan, by the way, was a really good match. I gotta say, Miyamoto, he's a guy that he kind of comes around randomly. Like, it feels like he goes away and comes at really random intervals. But when he comes around, he's always good. I remember when he was in M Alliance in Noah.
M's Alliance. Oh man.
Yeah. So now you got that run, and then he disappeared for a few years to the Indies because he does work a lot of low-level Indies. Let me tell you. And he's a veteran. He's been here for so many years, but he's really got a spark in this run that he's done with this TV title, and I think he's doing a good job. I think this TV title is a legit title. Like, I don't know if this is a hot take or not, but after Seigo, now with Miyamoto doing it, I think this is a legit title you could do. I'm not saying it's going to be a main event level title or anything, but it'll be a good mid-card title rather than a joke title that means nothing.
Yep, agreed.
Yeah, and I think he deserves a lot of credit for that.
Going to that show on January 2nd was a real fun time. It was not a show that had a lot of high-level singles matches like the one on the 3rd.
Yeah, the 3rd. We're going to get to that in a second.
With Ashino and Yuma Anzai, but it was a vibes show, and Sandra and I, we really enjoyed ourselves sitting there. Just a very, very enjoyable time once again at All Japan.
1,235 fans for January 2nd, and then 1,339 fans for January 3rd. So I saw the Aoyagi and Abe match, and I was like, "Hey, that was better than most of the stuff on the last show. Like, this is really good."
It was good, yeah.
And then Anzai and Ashino came in. This match was so great. Like, I loved this match. I thought it was phenomenal. The stuff they did, people were tired. And yes, I get it that it kind of like, after Anzai got rocked, the match did kind of slow down for sure. But stuff with the blood, he did get knocked out, but then he's like, "Screw it, I'm fighting anyway. Let's go." And I'm like, "Let's do this!" And like, I'm ready to stand up for Anzai. I was like, "This isn't even a meaningful match." But who cares? It's Anzai and Ashino. Ashino's wrestling great. I love this match. This is one of my favorite matches of any of the shows.
It was absolutely great. I agree. I wasn't live at the show, but I watched it after that. So great stuff, definitely.
And the tag match main event was really good too. Like the Saitos versus Hideki and Sekimoto. I thought they definitely got a lot more. Again, Sekimoto's a tag guy at this point. Like, you could get something, and mainly a main event tag guy. Like if you put him in a main match, I think that's where you're going to get the best out of him. I thought Hideki did really good as well. Saitos, they're doing their thing. If you like any Saitos match, I think you'll definitely enjoy that. So the January 3rd All Japan show was kind of a sleeper show. It's not that big. I mean, they drew a good crowd, 1,300 in Korakuen's, nothing to laugh at. But a sleeper show and I think it's well worth watching.
Definitely a very successful stretch for All Japan. 2,500 for Yoyogi, 1,200 for the second, and 1,300 for the third. I mean, there were times, remember when Dragon Gate?
Yes, yes.
350 people in Korakuen every single time.
That's exactly what I was thinking of. Like, was how it used to get in the old days with the crazy interaction. So yes, love that. I love how many people. I shouted him out before, but Ashitas was watching the old Dragon Gate stuff. But it seems like other people have started to jump onto that too, and I'm very happy to see that because I remember that stuff. We were talking about Blood Warriors in Junction 3. That match is like one of my favorite DG matches too. Like, I love that whole storyline with Blood Warriors. So that also did over 2,000 fans, if you believe them. I'm sure it's 30 points. But let's get to the main. Well, no, you were at the Tokyo Joshi Pro show, and I watched this as well. You left in protest of the main event and refused to.
I had to pick something up from Haoming, so I had to leave early because I wanted to get that to my hostel before going to Wrestle Kingdom. So unfortunately, the show really was long. I did not expect the show to go over 3 hours, to be quite honest. So I had to leave before the main event. I thought some of the undercard stuff went really long. Like, for example, the opening with Shika Nanase and Toga against Himawari and Mifu Ashida. By the way, great pickup from
absolutely.
TJPW. Mifu Ashida, one of the best Ice Ribbon have produced in the last couple of years.
Totally agree.
Went almost 11 minutes. Then we had the 6-man with Fumarujuku Raku and Yuki Aino against Aja Kong. Haruna Neko and Mahiro Kiryu also went over 10. The Hyper Masao and Shoko Nakajima match went 12. So lots of that undercard stuff went so long, and there were so many matches on that card that my time ran out actually in the end. So I couldn't watch the main event live. But the reason I was there was to see Miyo Yamashita's entrance with the title belt in Korakuen, and to see Suzume win the International Princess title from Yuki Arai. The section I was sitting in Korakuen was very mixed. Some of them were fans of Arai, some of them were rooting for Suzume, but in the end, Suzume got a great reaction from the crowd, great finish with the springboard, ring a bell, loved it. That's what I was there for, and then Misuki won the title. By the way, this was the most packed that I had seen Korakuen on my trip. They officially announced 1,483, and I was looking around the orange seats. There were really few empty seats. I was lucky because I once again got a seat that was in the center of the orange seats, but there was the dude sitting in front of me, and I'm positive that he was sitting on a specific pillow because he was taking photos, and I couldn't see shit for the first half of the show. Then I noticed right from me, in the row below me, there was an empty seat right at the aisle, and I just asked the guy next to me, the Japanese guy, if that seat was empty. I could take the seat, and luckily I could see the second half from there. And I saw Suzume win the title. So that was good. I loved it. And the show overall had a good vibe as well. And TJPW, I saw 2 shows in Korakuen. Both of them were really good, had a good vibe to them. And that's what I was there for.
Yeah, I think that the undercard stuff, it was all fine. Nothing was wrong with it. Was greatly amused by Masao and Shoko. And it always is. They had a different take on it with the snake stuff. It was hilarious, to be honest with you. Like, it's such a great comedy match. They all are. Like, they're all great, and I love that they already announced that they're doing it next year, as they should. Very happy to see Kira Summer back in Japan. She was in my prayers with what was going on with her life back in Australia, and it's great to see her back in. And I think that things picked up. I was happy to see Lei Ying Lee getting a big spot on there. She's looked pretty good at all of the TJP shows. I thought, like, the Suzume and Arai match was phenomenal on a Yuki Arai scale, which means it was passable, like, overall. But usually I'm not a fan of hers at all, and I think Suzume made this work so good. Like, she did such a great job that She's great. Like, really very happy that she got to win the belt for sure. The tag match was really good. as well. Maki and Miyu versus Masha Slamovich and Zara Zakar. Zakar's another one where she's done good in every performance in Tokyo Joshi Pro that I've seen. Masha is great. She always is. So that match was very good. I thought the main event was a really good match, but I can also see why people aren't happy that Miyu lost the belt overall either.
Yeah.
I mean, she had the belt for 10 months, and the title reign was really a nothing title reign, ultimately. And I like her.
One of the longest first reigns, actually.
Yeah, and she's great, and I love her, and she's a very talented person. But I cannot blame them for going back to Mizuki with how things like last year.
But remember, Mizuki's run also was a very nothing reign.
That's the problem. It's like I think you're in this kind of bubble with the TJP and DDT fans where it's like you either love it or you're completely out. Like there's no real in between. And I think the bubble for TJP has kind of gone smaller and smaller, like as years have gone by. But I mean, the show did good though, like and for Korakuen standards, and hopefully they can build to something great in March. I kind of anticipate Arai getting a run in the near future, but the show was pretty good. It just wasn't that vital. But the last couple of matches I think are definitely worth watching. And then you dipped out. You went to the Dome. We've got to hear about it. You were there for Wrestle Kingdom, your one Dome show that you saw for Japan.
Yes.
Tell us about the Dome going in there. That's what I want to know about.
The Dome. I mean, it felt unreal being inside the Tokyo Dome, actually, after having seen so many shows on January 4 from the Tokyo Dome specifically. What can you say about the Dome? I mean, you go in and there is this vast opportunities of getting food from every single side of food that you can get inside a stadium like this. I mean, it's a stadium. You got to think about it. It is a stadium, and you get stadium food inside this big stadium. I got this beef sandwich that came alongside the chips. It was very delicious, and there were girls.
Very respectable meal, I have to say.
Yeah,
very respectable.
Yeah. Girls running around the arena field selling beer. They were carrying around these big rucksacks of beer. It was something that they carried along. But at some point of the show, they randomly stopped selling beer, and it was the middle portion of the show, basically, and they just stopped. And I didn't get it because they, especially in our section, there were some foreigners sitting there. They would have definitely sold more and more beer, but for some reason they stopped. I got that ticket because my friend Samantha got that ticket for us, and we wanted to be inside the arena field for the Tokyo Dome. And I thought that the tickets were actually better than they in the end were. We're sitting it was like the 12th row. And remember what I said about Sumo Hall, if you're not sitting very close to the ring, there's issues with sight. And me not being very tall, I had issues with the sight. I couldn't see the ring mat for much of the show. So we had to look up to the monitors for a long time. So that wasn't ideal. So the positioning wasn't very good. What was good, though, was seeing the entrance ramp. And I want to say the absolute highlight for me was Doki's entrance. Doki's entrance with his kabuki actor.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy that Doki got to do that. Obviously, it was horrible what happened to him.
Yeah.
Dislocating his arm so early in the match. But man, that guy got to walk down the aisle in the Tokyo Dome. Just remember where he was years ago, wrestling for K-Dojo, coming in from Mexico as this weirdo guy, and nobody knew him. He was brought in as a replacement to the Best of Super Junior, and things happened from there for him. So very happy for him. Yeah, inside the Dome, you could also always just go up there and just roam around the food floor. I forgot what's the name of that actually. Something with gourmet something. There was just everything. You could buy noodles, you could buy fries, you could buy burgers, you could buy the sandwiches, you could buy the President Ace hot dog. They had closed. I wanted to buy a President Ace hot dog, but I was too late. So that's also part of these venues in Japan. It was the same for Budokan as well. They will have food, but they will run out of food very quickly. For whatever reason that is. I don't know why. But then they just close down. It's also happening in Budokan Hall. At some point of the show, they will just close down half of the concession stand because that's what they do apparently. And that happened in the Tokyo Dome as well. So I bought that sandwich. I didn't watch the television title match because I had to pick one of the matches to go get food. So I picked the television title match I didn't see. And I just met some people there. I met Matthew, who didn't want to go to the Tokyo Dome, but in the end he went. And for a live experience, it was nice being there once. But I can see people not wanting to go to the Tokyo Dome for wrestling because it's just so huge and so big that lots of the crowd noise just doesn't reach you where you sit when people from the other side of the Tokyo Dome just are very loud.
That was a problem for years, specifically in junior matches. Back in the 90s in the Dome shows. But the show itself, it did 24,000 people, which has to be considered an abysmal failure. Which we already had Kidani publicly to try to disavow himself from these shows.
I want to say it looked packed being inside the building. It looked very good, actually. And I'm not certain.
It didn't really affect the show. Like, in terms of, like, it didn't feel like, oh, this crowd is so small.
It's exactly. And it felt like a good crowd. When I was watching, I was looking up the bleachers. The first floor was completely full, and even the second floor, the highest bleachers, even there were a lot of people there. So when I was estimating, I was much closer to 27, 28 than the actual number in the end. So I'm not sure where that number comes from. So there must have been a lot of sponsor tickets, I guess.
I'm sure there was.
Also, the lodges, I think there were lots of sponsor tickets there too. There were a lot of people in there too. I want to say that they were close to 26, 28,000 people in there. But they announced 24, of course.
Yeah. It is what it is, ultimately. I mean, you could talk a lot about the build-up to this show.
And that also goes into asking, why have they chosen this weird way to announce ticket sales a couple of years ago? Where they just will not publicize the actual number of people inside the building.
Yeah, you wanted to work you want to gimmick the number up.
Yeah, they only want to announce the actual tickets sold. That's such a weird way.
I believe I can't remember where I heard this. I don't want to credit to anybody, but I listened to some kind of interview where somebody was going on about ticket sales, and basically he was saying that the reason New Japan can't do it like everyone else is because they have, like, the Bushiroad people won't, like, they have to announce it because they have investors or something like that.
Yeah, but if that was the case, wouldn't they actually announce, like, give out a number? I mean, for WWE, it's actually the opposite. They announce a fake number.
Yeah, they announce the real number later.
Exactly, they announce the real one later. What? I mean,
well, what difference does it make? Like, this show is a bad show, like a bad number. Like, if you announce a fake number, this show is still a bad number at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Like, so yeah, I don't actually agree. to be honest, I don't think it matters. I think the fact is, again, we were talking about it before the show. This was not a well built up Tokyo Dome. I'm sorry.
Oh.
Like, at the end of the day, and the problem is, like, we have a historically weak champion right now in terms of popularity, like that he's proving to be. You waited and waited and waited and waited and waited. with Naito and Hiromu, and then when you did it, it didn't matter like it would have. Like I firmly believe if this had been done earlier, it would have been a difference-making match, and I don't think it was anymore. And it could be scary that it could have gone even lower. I mean, the next night was even lower, like than this. So everything else, what was to gauge public interest in the show on a Tokyo Dome level? You know, like if you had asked me before the show, I would have said Naito and Hiromu is the match. And again, it was unsuccessful, but I think that was the match they pegged to draw. And the second was Tanahashi versus Evil.
Yeah.
Like, to me. And I mean, that's a problem. Like, you know, and I mean, it's not my opinion. It's been proven. Like, that is true. The main event has sought a lot of discussion. I mean, it's got 4.5 stars from Meltzer on this one.
That's ridiculous.
I have to say, Strig, I did not think this was a terrible match. It went long. It was very long.
You know, my takeaway from that was, so Doki injured himself. They had to take like 10 to 15 minutes off that match. They did not add that time to Tsuji and Finlay, and they did not add that time to Naito and Hiromu. Those matches went under 20 minutes. My impression was that they added time to Zack Sabre Jr. and Shota Umino because the middle portion of that match, that consisted of both of them repeating stuff they had done earlier in the match.
You're right.
And it felt like that they just added that on. And seeing that live was just unbearable.
A lot of people think this match sucked. And it wasn't. I'm not saying it was good. I just think that people were calling this. I thought this was a better match than the semi-main, personally, as long as it was.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I mean, Naito and Hiromu was just sad.
Naito was just completely done. Like I can't believe it, but
I wouldn't put it past them to do the match next year again.
Wow, it didn't even work this year.
I know. But it's ghetto booking, right? So Hiromu Takahashi lost this match now. He obviously has to get a win at some point over Naito.
I think the tag run is a good idea. Honestly,
it is.
Like if they had been smarter about all of this, I think you could have really gracefully bridged to Naito and Hiromu having a great tag team title run, to where you could use the star power of Naito, but he doesn't have to wrestle that much anymore. Because I mean, it's just like you said, it was honestly sad to watch, and I'm not even that big of a fan of his historically, you know. And I can't imagine if I were an LIJ fan, I'd just be like hating this so much.
And the crowd at some point really noticed it made click for a lot of people that this is the last run, that this is the last big match that Naito was able to have, and it wasn't a good one. So where do we go from here with him? You can't. I mean, they will put him in the G1 Climax again, but man, that is going to be tough. He
was terrible this past year. Like in the G1, like he was one of the worst performers, in my opinion, of the G1. And I think that it's only going to get worse from here on out. And I know about his injuries. I'm not taking anything away from that. But it's just the reality of the situation. We have to acknowledge that this is not what you want to see out of him at all.
But for that matter, for the main event, Dylan.
Yeah.
It was about Shota Umino proving himself as a main event talent. And when you look at that dude inside the ring, wrestling Zack Sabre Jr., the guy is just completely dead behind the eyes. There is nothing there. There is no fire there. Nothing brought any kind of fire out of him except for kicking his dad.
Yeah, that was about to say. Like, that was kind of the highlight of that match.
Yes.
Hey, they didn't go as far as they could have with that.
Yes, they did not. And that is about it. So, as a main event match, and for the sake of this dude having to work out as a star on that level, it was just not that. It didn't deliver.
No, you're right. You're totally right, and I think they have good intentions with his push here. You hear a lot on commentary. Charlton. We'll talk more about him in a second on what happened on the next show, but he's really going over the top defending Umino on these shows and be like, "What do you want from this man? He's laid it all on the line, and he's amazing." Blah blah blah. I think the problem is that, like you said, the heart isn't there. Like the main event you need the Tanahashi level.
Yeah. He just doesn't have it.
Yeah, exactly. That Tanahashi level is just not there. And he actually reminds me, who he reminds me a lot of? He reminds me a lot of Kaito, actually.
Yeah.
And Kaito, I think, is a phenomenal worker. I think execution-wise, there was actually some good stuff in this match. I agree with what you said about the psychology and the repeating stuff and him not being very charismatic. But I think as a performer, he's got good things to him. And we've seen that manifest. I mean, a lot of people were actually turned around on this match because of the tag team matches that they had leading up to it. We kind of talked about that on the preview show, or not the preview, but the prediction show. They basically willed it to make this somewhat interesting. But as a match, what was there to grab onto in this whole match? Ultimately, from the build-up until the bell rang, there just wasn't a lot to this whole match. It's not just him. Zach deserves criticism for this, by the way. Like, he didn't wrestle a great match, in my opinion. No. I thought that his execution was good, but this, I'm going to let go and do 20 different submissions and let go after 5 seconds crap is not holding up, at the champion. And the thing is, like I said, he's a historically weak champion in terms of local popularity, which will bring me to the happiest part of this whole show, which was the next challenger for the title. That was determined at the start. This is and I truly mean this. I was talking to Flosh about this. Who else would I talk to about this?
Obviously.
But since we've done this show, Strigga, like the last almost 9 years of the Eastern Lariat, this is the first time that I truly believe there's a chance that Goto can win the title.
He's going to win, Dylan.
But I think the thing is, the other ways, there was no way it's possible. This time, Zach cannot continue to be the champion. He just is not championship caliber.
And there is money in a veteran run with Hiroki Goto, with all these guys that could come for him. There is David Finlay. He just lost the title. There's Yoratsuji. There is, of course, Konosuke Takeshita, who could be in line because he's now signed to New Japan Pro Wrestling as well. There's a couple of guys with Yuya Omura coming back from his injury. There's a couple of guys that you could send for Hiroki Goto, and one of them eventually then becoming champion.
Again, it's not like I'm saying, it's for sure going to happen. But I, like before, in every other instance of him getting a title shot on the show, I said that, no, of course he won't win. Like, they're not going to do that. Here, I think there's a legitimate possibility, but because, again, it's not necessarily because of him. It's more so because of who the champion is. That I think that they have to. It's like when Jake won the title in Noah.
And
like,
you can just exactly, yes. And you can. Oh, Jake Lee's coming back. Oh, yeah, at some point as well, right?
Right.
And you could see it as soon as people were aware that Hiroki Goto was wrestling for the title in Osaka. That show immediately got sold out.
Yep, exactly. That's exactly what I was going to bring up. Look at last year, the New Japan Cup. The crowd was on his side. Like, he was the one that they chose. The G1, he was the emotional favorite throughout it. That amazing match with Takeshita, like one of the best matches of the whole year. He is a very popular guy in a company that doesn't have any popular people right now. So they need to really capitalize on it from a business sense. And I think as a wrestler, he's still among the best. Like, again, we saw it with the Takeshita match. That was among the best matches of the tournament. I think you have places to go with him. I don't think it'll be a long-term run if he does win, to be honest. I think they'll probably set it up. Maybe they could do something with the New Japan Cup winner afterwards. But I honestly think he'll lose it pretty quick. Like if he were to win it. But I just think they need to get the belt off of Zach and onto somebody else. And I think he is a great choice. And he would automatically be my best choice anyway, because of the reasons I said last year, that he was the most popular guy in multiple instances. And you have a long-term story of him never winning the title. You could create a legitimate emotional moment for a lot of these longtime fans. Guess what, guys? There's a lot of people that watched New Japan 10 years ago that ain't watching anymore. Like I said, they're gone. And maybe you have a chance to draw some of those people back. Like, oh, that's the crazy part. Him getting a title run that we all thought he deserved years ago was a storyline 10 years ago. and it's still viable to this day. So we'll see if it plays out that way. Again, and I think it's very possible Zach just wins. And they just keep rolling.
It might be possible, but the more interesting title run would be Yoyogi Goto.
Not everybody needs to be the world champion. I say this all the time. Like, I know he's popular and he's good. I'm not saying he's not a good wrestler. Not every great wrestler needs to be the world champion. And I think we should have learned that. And I said it at the time when he won the G1. Him winning said more about Tsuji, Umino, and the rest than it did about him, because they decided that they were not ready for this moment to get the belt. And maybe one day they'll get there. So Umino, I mean, everything you said is factual. At the end of the day, it's going to be tough. I think it's kind of easy to say, oh, he needs to turn heel. I think more importantly, he needs to change. Like, he doesn't necessarily have to be a heel. But
what's going to change? What's going to change if he's going to be a heel? He's still going to be dead behind the eyes.
That's what I'm saying. Like, he needs to find that fire somehow. I mean, it's not impossible. Someone like, okay, this is my example that I'll throw in. Makabe, for his first 10 years, was generic guy.
Yeah. And
then he got the dyed hair. He got the chain. He went with the Brody gimmick. Like, that changed everything. He wasn't a heel per se. Like I said, he was very popular with the fans. Throwing middle fingers. I mean, his stable was called Great Bash Heel, so I guess he did turn heel in some sense. But he was very popular. He was beloved by the fans. He just needs to change more so than just a turn heel. I mean, we've seen how well has that worked out for Narita.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But we'll get to that. Positive note, Tsuji and Finlay, that was the best match on the show, in my opinion. I think Tsuji's win came across like a good deal. Finlay continues his great run here. And the thing is with Tsuji, I think in normal circumstances, they'd actually be perfect, pushing him pretty much perfectly. The problem is that there's nobody above him. So they're actually it feels like that he's ready for the world title because the world title seems so weak. But I actually like what they're doing with him. It's just the timing determines that he needs to be higher, I feel like.
Mm-hmm. And that's an issue, right? So now he's going to be feuding with the Gabe Kidd. But Gabe Kidd is someone that coming off of the great
I didn't like that. Yeah.
Omega match? You didn't like the match?
No, not the match. The match, we'll talk about the match.
Okay.
I didn't like him. We'll talk about Kidd and Tsuji. Like, I didn't like that they booked that because Kidd is so popular right now.
Exactly.
He won the fans over so much. And neither guy should be losing.
Exactly. And that's something that New Japan books themselves into all the time with kind of these guys. And Kidd would be someone that I would consider if Yoyogi Goto was going to win the title. Kidd would be someone that I would actually pack to beat Goto for the title.
I think that's a great idea. Like, you could easily do that. And that's why I don't like this match with Tsuji. Like, he should have gotten a win. He should have. What I would have done, I would have had Kidd versus Umino, and Kidd goes over in the undercard. And that sets up a New Japan Cup run to where you could build to him facing Goto for the title.
Right.
So instead, he's going to lose to Tsuji. And then we're just going to. Kidd needs to win something. Like, that's the problem with Kidd. His performances are spectacular and great and all of that. What has he won in this company?
Strong title.
Because Kingston broke his leg, and nobody cares about the strong title.
Yeah.
So, like, he needs to win something in New Japan, not America. Like, in my opinion. But Tsuji and Finlay, that match ruled. Finlay deserves a lot of credit. He's completely won over pretty much all of his detractors.
Yeah, he's going to be turning face soon. I'm pretty certain.
Yeah, and I think he should. Like I think he should. And a lot of his instincts as a wrestler were as a babyface. He's really done a great job of turning it around to the power guy stuff that he's really done a great job with. That match ruled. Highly recommend to everybody to watch Tsuji and Finley.
Yeah.
Despy and Doki, like you said, the entrance was great. Very sad what happened. Hopefully, if there was a silver lining, it gives them a chance to do this match for the title in the future.
They will surely do that.
Exactly.
It's a storyline that writes itself.
Exactly.
You don't have to do anything. People will be intrigued by it. It's perfect, actually.
And Doki will get a great babyface reception, as he already was anyway, because he was a great underdog champion that's really proved himself over the last half year.
Mm-hmm.
Not to spoil the awards for us next week, but he's gotten a lot of votes for junior heavyweight, best junior heavyweight.
Oh, I had a great run.
I think he just totally deserves it. Takeshi and Shingo, the match was really good. I think I was lower on this than a lot of people, especially considering what happened the next night. I thought this was like the baseline type of match. It's like you knew exactly what style of match they were going to do.
Yeah.
They did it exactly like you thought he did, and it was good, but it wasn't that great to me.
Yeah. I think people wanted this to be better.
Yeah,
but it didn't actually deliver to that level. Yeah. I get it. Yeah.
It was good though. Like it was the second match, best match on the show, maybe third. But I thought the Tanahashi and Evil match was a total success.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what I said from the very beginning.
Yep,
it's going to be great.
You did.
Yeah.
How did the crowd react where you were at?
Very well. Very good reception for both Tanahashi and for Evil. We've come to a point now that this act is just not the main event anymore, and that's what I've said all the time. Whenever the House of Torture is not the main event act and Evil is not in threat of winning the world title, this act totally works out, and it worked out here once again with Tanahashi, and everybody was obviously just accepting that Evil was going to lose this match. Nobody was expecting him to win, and everybody was just having a good time cheering on President Ace.
What do you think about Evil leaving the company, quote unquote?
He's not leaving the company.
But what do you think of the storyline, though?
I don't know.
Like, where do you go with that?
Exactly, where do you go with that?
Is he coming back as like Watanabe? Like, is it time for a change?
Is there any money in him being Watanabe in New Japan?
I don't think there's money in Evil. Like, this is a goofy undercard act at best. Like, and most of the time it fails. Like, I don't think it's successful on the undercards, except for this very particular circumstance against Tanahashi, which it really worked with. Like, we saw what the Show and Kanemaru can do on the undercards and Yujiro and all the rest. There's not a lot there. If you're being really honest about it, this is not a successful act. Like,
no. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying this is a successful act, but it's
even as an undercard act, it's not. It drags the shows down and it's embarrassing in a bad way, in my opinion.
But it's a fun act. It's a fun act.
I just think if it's old. Like, that's another thing. Like,
that is definitely.
It's very stale. Like, if you're gonna do a heel act, I can understand
Dylan,
why they would want to do it.
It's been stale for years, and we've been saying that for years, and it takes another ice age for New Japan Pro Wrestling to actually change up teams. It's not happening.
Yeah, I mean, you're probably right. At the end of the day, I mean, you're probably right. I just think
Look at Chaos. The Chaos is still around. They change teams at the glacier speed.
And I think that should be something they address this year. But I mean, I know that you're right. Like, we'll believe it when we see it, I think is the best way to do it. But I think Tanahashi was an excellent babyface as well. As we know he is, even in his old age. He continues to just get it. Like, he can make these kind of matches work so well. I thought he was phenomenal. And even better was the aftermatch with Shibata coming out. I wasn't even that hyped about the January 5th show going forward. But when he came out,
I have a hot take. I have a hot take for that.
Yeah.
They wasted Tanahashi and Shibata. They wasted
one of
Tanahashi's retirement matches for a nothing 5-minute exhibition match.
I think you're right. I mean, I'll give you what I think they thought, and we'll see if you buy it or not.
Mm-hmm.
Shibata's been on the outs with the company.
Yes.
We all know that.
Mm-hmm.
So this was a test for him to see if they could do more with him going forward in the future. That Tanahashi himself probably advocated for more than anyone else.
I guess so. Mm-hmm.
I think if Tanahashi could have had a match with him and it would be okay with everybody, yes, they would do it. But this was kind of a hurdle I feel like he may have felt they had to jump over. That doesn't mean you're wrong, because I agree with you. But I think that may have been the reason why, because he has been...
That's surely the reason why. Sure.
But you're still right, though. Like, it shouldn't have mattered. They should have let whatever their issues are go with all of these people.
And because just look at the reaction that we had both online and within the Japanese crowd. Everybody saw, okay, they're doing Tanahashi and Shibata, and then it was announced that it was going to be a 5-minute exhibition that everybody was down.
Should Shibata have shot and said, "We are now doing a regular match"?
He shouldn't have. He shouldn't.
He shouldn't have to. Yeah, they should have done it. Like I said, they should have put it aside, and it was wrong of them not to. They should have booked a regular match with these two, not on 1 day notice either. This could have been a legitimate main event that drew money that they have now wasted.
Exactly.
So like that's another problem. If they had announced a regular match, I would have said, "Wow, why did they do that on 1 day notice?" So yeah, but it was still cool. Like, it was super unexpected, though. Like, to be honest.
I mean, yeah, it was a fun time, but
I agree. Like, you're right. Ultimately, Phantasma winning, you missed it. you went to get some food. It was actually pretty good. Cobb, you got some good power spots. I think Oi was in a really weird spot right now. They have not done a good job with him since he's come back.
Oh no, not a good job. No.
And you didn't even mention him as a potential prospect. He should be
That's
a heavyweight.
What I just noticed. That's what I just noted as well. Yeah.
Yeah, he should have been one of the top names that are up there for the next world champion. But because they booked him so poorly, this is where he feels like the third wheel in a 4-man TV title match, 8th from the top or whatever. But Phantasmo winning was a cool moment. Coming back from his cancer is very cool.
Yes.
And the match was good. Everybody worked good. Even Narita was fine in his role. I thought it was a very nice thing. The problem is that this title has no credibility right now. So they're going to have to work on that. And maybe Phantasmo will be very motivated. The crowd's with them. Let's see what they can do. Women's title match, that was one of the best matches on the show, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
It was high speed style all the way. And who better to do that than Azumi to bring that in? I mean, we all knew going in this was not going to get more than 10 minutes. So I think this was the best possible pairing. Iwatani delivered big in her role as well. They hit all kinds of bombs and great moves, very clever pins and counters. It wasn't a main event epic that I think will get people wanting to be Super Stardom fans at a great number, but I thought it was very, very good on this show, and it was probably my second favorite match on the show.
So, Mayu, right? Still champion? Is she going to move to Marigold after all now?
I think everybody foresees her moving to Marigold. But I kind of figured that.
Was this a decision to keep her around in Stardom?
I think they would love to keep her around. I think she is going to go. But, I mean, Azumi, I love Azumi. She's one of my favorites on Stardom. But they have never pushed her at a level that I thought this was going to happen. I know a lot of people anticipated Azumi winning, but I didn't think that, to be honest. I was not surprised that Mayu won.
No, me neither. That's not my point. But was the decision made in order to convince Mayu to stay with Stardom, to show her, okay, we are going to give you these kind of matches on this kind of stage? That's not what you're going to get with Marigold.
Well, you're definitely not going to get that with Marigold. I will admit that. But no, I don't think it matters. She'll just drop the title to somebody else and be on her way. Like I said. But they weren't going to put the title on Azumi is the problem. It's not about Mayu. It's that I don't think they thought that Azumi is ready, even though I do. Like, if it was up to me, yes, she would have won. But I think they probably have somebody else in mind for that. But match was great, though. We'll see what she does. Maybe she stays after all and beats all the odds, but
maybe.
I doubt it. I think it's heavily unlikely that happens. I think she'll drop the title and we'll be on her way. But until then, we get great matches like this. Junior heavyweight ladder match, did not care at all. I thought it was a really lame match overall.
You did not care for the Tokyo Terror ladder match?
I hate ladder matches of any sort, no matter what company they're in.
Yeah, I'm done with those.
Yeah. Overall, I thought this show was really weak for a dome show. I think that the Tsuji and Finley match was good, and the women's match was good, and the Never title was good. But I thought that there wasn't anything really about it that made me think, man, this is going to be a legendary moment. Like that, the Tanahashi Okada level, Kenny Omega Okada level, legendary moments. I didn't get the sense of that at all at any point on the show. Yeah, people were saying that they liked like that they really made it a spectacle. I didn't think it was that much of a spectacle. I mean, yeah. Umino came out in the bike, the motorbike or whatever.
Yeah.
Besides that, what were the great entrance? And Doki had a great entrance. But besides that, like, it's not like everybody was coming out with these amazing, epic entrances. No. I thought last year was way better at that, personally.
It was better. It was better in a lot of ways.
But the whole show was better.
Better presentation.
Yeah, you're right. And the next show, I thought was better. Wrestle Dynasty. You weren't there for that.
Wrestling-wise, Wrestle Dynasty definitely was better. When it came to the atmosphere in the building, it was a rough one. It kind of reminded me of that Tokyo Dome show during the pandemic where they had 6,000 in attendance.
Well, they were getting close with that. This had 16,000 fans, and it was far from a successful show.
Yes. And I just don't get it. I have no idea what the idea behind the show was after all.
He said it. Kadani said it in his interview. He said, we were not able to come across with either a teammate or a rivalry with AEW.
Exactly.
Maybe we made a mistake. Making it, next to the dome.
They did. They made a mistake.
And he knows. Like, he knows these shows suck. Like, I couldn't believe people were trying to defend them.
We said it before. This should have been one show. If this had been one show with super great matches there, this would have been very successful. But
I don't think it would have been successful. Like, I think if you put all the title matches in one show, I think you still get the same amount as the first night.
Maybe.
I mean, this show bombed. This Kenny Omega coming back was great match, but it drew 16,000 fans. Like, at the end of the day. You would have gotten a little bit more. I think you could have at least matched last year, which wasn't a great number in and of itself. But I think they could.
I think with a great title match and with the Kenny Omega return, they could have gone near the 30,000.
Well, they would have had Zack and Umino. They
would have still had that. Yes.
Yeah. Kenny Omega and Kid was the one match that would have. That's really it. Like, none of these matches are drawing matches. Like, on this Dynasty show. Like, ultimately, when I'm looking at this card, outside of Shibata and Tanahashi, and like you said, that was an exhibition match that didn't make any difference, ultimately.
No.
And I loved Takeshita and Ishii. That match had the people standing up. The crowd loved it. I loved it. It was amazing. When he hit the Frankensteiner, like twisting Frankensteiner from the top, I was like jumping out of my seat. That elbow he hit him with, and then Takeshita fired back. It was like
the way Ishii corpsed was so fucking amazing.
Amazing, like all-time great worker, like all-time great. I cannot believe they had him wrestling Jericho in AEW instead of, like, think of how much he could have done in the G1 last year if he were in that B block. Oh my God. But yeah, that match was completely phenomenal. I thought the Omega and Kid match was, this is the match that everyone was talking about. 9.64 rating on Cage Match, 5.25 stars for Meltzer.
It was great, but it was not that great.
It wasn't a 5.25 star match?
No.
I agree with you, actually. Like, I think it was great.
Yeah.
But the way people are talking about it was like
this was not a match of the decade contender or anything like that. It was very, very good. Don't get me wrong here. Gabe Kidd did very well in this situation. He and Kenny Omega, they really went out hard. And I also, much like everybody else, I loved the Inoki callback spot with the Manjigatame. I loved it.
That was
Gabe Kidd portraying himself as the New Japan guy. That was phenomenal. But this match overall, it had its moments where it was just very long.
There was a lot on that outside with people laying around. That moment was not that great.
I'm just not into these moments in these matches where it's a long brawl on the outside, setting up stuff for an eventual spot.
Yeah. He had to call Clark Connors to throw in chairs in the ring. They wandered around for a couple of minutes to do that too. Yeah, I'm feeling you, Strig. I think I agree with what you're saying right now.
Overall, we had two class performers that delivered a class match. I mean, it's hard for those guys not to do well.
Yeah, and we know what Kidd's about, like in ring. Like I said, I still think his character can be a little over the top sometimes, but
he's toned it down significantly, though.
Especially in this match, like the focus, it gave it focus. Remember the match he had versus Evil in the G1? That was another match where he worked more babyface, and the crowd rallied behind him. Here, he worked more babyface, and the crowd rallied behind him. He toned it down. He did what I wanted him to do, and you can see how great he really is now. And like you said, I agree with what you said earlier. He should be on the short list of guys that can win the title. And maybe you could even build up to a rematch of this one day. Omega, for his part, I thought did an excellent job as well. I think his wrestling was like he never really missed a beat. He was the same Omega that we knew, and he went through a crazy situation with a diverticulitis. But I thought he had a really phenomenal performance. I actually thought he might have even wrestled a little better than Kidd overall. But Kidd had more emotional impact to his work than Omega did, if that makes sense.
It does.
It does. Yeah. So I think he was better overall, but I thought Omega, in terms of pure wrestling, I thought did a phenomenal job. And I think he deserves a lot of credit. They clearly had a lot of heart in this match and soul, which we talked about in the main event of the first night. There wasn't a lot of that. And really, even the second night here, there wasn't a lot of heart and soul in these main events that they gave us in these dome shows.
And that's unfortunate, right? It's really, really unfortunate that they were not able to position a guy that is able to deliver a main event that has the fans really behind them passionately.
And I also think that's why this match stood out so much, because it was so passionate. Like Gabe Kidd brought so much that the fans just latched onto it. And I think that if we had had a better night's main events that weren't just duds. I mean, the second night was good enough with Ricochet. It definitely wasn't as long, at least. But I still don't think it was any great shakes by any means.
Yeah, but that match doesn't. Just compare these. Exactly. Just compare these two to what Gabe Kidd did in his match. Gabe Kidd delivered so much more heart, passion, and soul than Ricochet and Zack Sabre did.
I said that. That's exactly what I'm saying. I think that's why it got rated so highly. Ultimately,
when you look at the match, just technically, it was a good wrestling match. But as a main event for a Tokyo Dome show, nah.
And that's why I think too. I think Zach's match with Goto will be a lot better because he is going to bring that exactly. these two didn't. And I think that's why that's going to come in, and people are going to say, "No, he's back. Everyone was wrong about him." No, we weren't wrong. These matches weren't. Yeah.
Had this match not been the main event of this show, Zack Sabre and Ricochet, I firmly believe that the rating wouldn't be 7.91. It would be closer to 6.7.
Yeah, that's probably more what I would rate it. Is what you said. 6.7 is more accurate to me than 7.9. Yeah, I agree. And I think that's a good point. I think that's something people haven't thought about as much with Omega and Kidd. But it was, again, it sounds like we're downing it, but we're only comparing it to the greatest matches of all time, which is rated as, which we don't think it's one of those, but it's still great. It was still arguably the best match on any show we've been talking about. I would put it up there. I thought the Ishii and Takeshita match was up there as one of the best matches that we saw as well. So, both of those matches deserve credit, and I thought were better than anything on night one. I will give, for sure, I think we have to say about Omega and Kid that was better than what we saw on night one. In my opinion, anyway.
Yeah.
It's better than Tsuji and Jack Perry. I'll tell you that.
I skipped that match after seeing the cage rating.
It was very smart. The thing is, if you like Jack Perry, then maybe you would like this match. But the problem is how many people are like that. Are so deranged and unhinged that they like Jungle Boy.
Dylan, I have a question now. Now that Evil is going to leave New Japan Pro Wrestling, apparently, is Jack Perry going to take his rightful role as the leader of the House of Torture?
I think that it's what the people have needed most all this time. Jungle Boy back with the goat head. Yeah, but I mean, like I said, I just think the thing with Evil is, I know you're right, probably. I just like that they're at least doing something with him. They're at least teasing there's some kind of change going forward. But like you said, you're right to not read too much into it. Tag title match, I thought it was fine, but I really think they have a lot more mileage out of Hiromu and Naito as a team than this three-way stuff on there. I mean, I don't have any interest in the Bucks in New Japan. I don't know.
Zero interest.
Yeah, but that's where we're at right now. Like, the tag titles are so meaningless that it's hard for me to feel negative or positive about anything. Takeshita and Ishii, we talked about it. It was great. Umino and Claudio. Another weak match from Shota, man. Like, Claudio's the man. He's such a great wrestler, but it was just such a nothing match to me.
Finish sucked.
Yeah, that was bad too. Yeah, you're right. I mean, that's interesting. Finley and Brody King, that was great. I thought that was a banger.
That was very good.
Yeah, I loved it. Just Haas style of match. They beat each other up. Nothing too fancy.
King would work so well as a performer in New Japan Pro Wrestling if he was in for a long run.
I wonder if these AEW guys, Ricochet, Jungle Boy, Claudio, and Brody, if this might not have been some kind of audition of sorts for a future role in a New Japan Cup or a G1 type of deal.
I'm sure we're going to see one or two of them in the G1.
Exactly. And I think if then Brody's the one who passed the test out of everybody that we want to see going in there. And Claudio, I love so much. I would love to see him in a G1 for sure. Even if it's just a New Japan Cup. We had Jungle Boy in the New Japan Cup last year, right? So there's no reason we can't have somebody else represent AEW in the Cup this year. Mercedes and Mina, it's got a great rating, 7.76. I didn't think it was that great, to be honest with you.
No.
Yeah, I mean, Mercedes and Hazuki, though, in America, that match freaking was great.
That ruled, yeah.
Yeah, that was an excellent match. And then Tanahashi Shibata. All of your criticisms are accurate. I still totally love this. Like, all they did was chop each other over and over 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And I just had a ton of fun. Then Tanahashi hit him with one more. They teased heat. And then Shibata smiled and offered him the handshake. Loved it. How good was Tanahashi? He added so much, too, to the Omega and Kid match when he was crying at the end.
Yep. Completely different from his expression in the Zack Sabre and Shota Umino match.
Another accurate comment from my man Strigga right now. He's telling nothing. All the languages you speak, Strigga. All the languages in this, you choose to speak facts to the people right now. The Lucha Gauntlet, that was awesome. Like I totally enjoyed that, especially when Desperado came out and was raising the title, and then everyone was standing against him, like all 7 guys are like, get in the ring, we're gonna beat the shit out of you. And then Desperado was like, oh crap, what have I got myself into? It was a ton of fun. Mascara Dorada was the one who stood out the most in the match itself. Other than that, it was a fun lucha match that set the tone right for the show.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, nothing more to read into it, but just a nice little match.
Yeah.
So, with that said, I think we've covered about everything at this point.
There's a lot.
covered. There's some we didn't, but we've been going so long, Dylan. I think we should call it. We should call it a day. I would say
it's not that relevant to go after Oz Academy once again. So unfortunately, like I said on there. One very brief thing before I end, because I forgot about it. I do apologize. The Mari Gold Big Show did happen. You had Utami and Sari in the main event. You know, it was from Oda City. They had a great house, 1830, there for Sari's big title match. The main event was really good. I wouldn't say great. I think a little overrated on cage match.
It's overrated. Never reached the heights that they wanted it to reach. Especially, I want to say that Sari took a lot of that match, obviously as champion. And Utami just didn't deliver in her babyface comebacks as much as you would wanted her to.
And it's been consistent with her and Mari Gold. I don't think she's delivered at all, like in her run since they've started this company, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Compare this to the Nanai match. Sorry.
It's not even comparable.
Exactly. Even the Bozilla match versus Sari, I thought was significantly better than this. In my opinion. But it was still good. Like, it was nice that they had this match. It's a good little end to Sari's run. And the way it's talking, I mean, they've already been talking about at the awards that she may be somebody in line for that. And that's where I think that Mayu's reign is going to end, is going to be with her winning that IWGP title. Sorry. Like, they're already teasing it. I think it would be a great spot for her. But, I mean, that's a big loss. Like, if she drops Mari Gold, that's a big loss, I would say.
Sari leaving Mari Gold and then Nanae Takahashi retiring, that company is going to lose a lot.
Yeah, and it's tough. I mean, it's just one of those things where they've tried their best with the roster, but it's just.
But there have been not lots of good matches on this show, actually. Like,
no, it wasn't a great show. Even the semi-main, people like Mai Sakurai, and yes, she's improved. I know she has.
She's improved, but from which point? I mean,
that's the problem.
Miko Ono had a good run as champion.
She was fine. I think they wasted her. Like, if they were smart, they would have built her up to win. She should have got the big win on this show, not be the champion at the start of the company.
Let's talk about wasting talent, Dylan. I get what they were trying with the debut of Seri Yamaoka. Yeah. But once again, Mirai, she was once again in that role where she's going to have a time limit draw. For what sake? Why did they do that?
I always say, Strigga, if they tell you what they think of somebody, you should listen to them. And I think they've told us what they think of Mirai, like these last multiple months, like since the company started, pretty much. Yep. And I don't agree with it at all. Like, I think that it's really stupid how they've, out of everybody on this roster, I think she's been the worst handled. But I also think that they've given us enough evidence to where, like, this is kind of expected, and it's unfortunate, but it is what it is at the end of the day. And the rest, they're building around Tank and Bozilla.
Very unfortunate where Bozilla is right now compared to where she could be.
How I feel about this.
And Tank, not going to work. She's not going to work as what they think she's going to deliver, especially the match with Utami. That is going to be very rough.
And I mean, she's still so. It's not fair.
Did they already do the match? I think they did. They already did the match, right?
Tank.
They did the match already. Yes.
Yeah, Tank and Utami. Oh yeah, that just happened. I haven't seen that yet, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I don't think it has it aired. I
said it airs on the 17th, so it hasn't aired yet.
Okay.
Yeah, but like you said, we'll see what happens with that. I haven't been in love with Utami's run at all. And Tank is just so new. I think it's not fair, but maybe they'll surprise us in a big run here. Koki winning the title of Chika Goto. It's like these actress girls are all over the place, and they love pushing them. The GHC.
I mean, it was unfortunate that she tore her ACL in the match.
It was so. I mean, yeah, obviously, yes. I mean, nobody wants that. Unfortunately. I just thought it was weird how they did the GHC title. It's like they had big stars. Like Iroha was in that match. they went with Koki on there. Like so, Noah title there.
I guess it's easier to take the title off of her.
Yeah, like you said, it's a shame about the injury. Satomura was there. She's gearing up for her own retirement. Not really specific.
There was also not a good match actually.
Yeah. No.
I don't know.
Yeah. I thought it was okay. I didn't hate it. I thought it was pretty good and better than most of the show, in my opinion. But it wasn't great. It wasn't great either. And then you had Victoria Yuzuki get the Superfly title over Shozuki, and this is what they've been building to. I thought it was fine. Kind of below average, to be honest. I didn't think that. I thought the tag match was better than that, to be honest.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Somebody wrote it a 1. I didn't tell that here. It wasn't that bad, but I didn't like it either. Maybe like a 4. Might be closer to my rating on that. But yeah, I mean, Sarayami Oka, she has a lot of upside. I'll give him that. This is such a young roster. You know, at the end of the day, you can't really. It's just you can't really judge anybody harshly, because it's so young. And you just have to hope some of these people develop into something good at the end of the day. And we've shown signs with certain people. Alno and Bozilla have both had positive results, I would say, overall. The rest, they've got a ways to go. I think that's why this show did good, but not a lot else has, recently for them. So hopefully this is a good step in the right direction. I don't know how much that show did with Utami and Tank did. Where even was that match anyway?
It was in Nagoya.
Okay. We'll see. Like I said, I'm willing to give it a chance, but I just wanted to briefly touch on that. But yeah, we talked about everything. You were in Japan forever. You had a great time. You loved all the buildings and the food and all the cool stuff that you did. We're all jealous of you, especially me. Of course, none more so than me. But still, we caught up with everything. We're back in the saddle. We are going to be back with the awards very soon. People have voted. We need more votes. Please vote for our awards. I don't care who you are, what kind of fan you are, where you're from. If you like death matches, Joshi. If you only like DDT. If you love every company equally, we love you, and we want you to give us your opinions on who the award winners were. And hopefully everything goes well, and we will be back with another show that I'm very happy to be doing. But I was very happy to be here doing this with you today as well. So thank you so much, Strig, for making so much time, getting us in the way. I know you've been sick recently. I've been sick too, but I would have fought through a blizzard, which we did get a lot of snow the other day. Where I'm from. If it had been blizzard, I would have fought through it to do the show with you, and I would fight through anything for you. I love you, man, and thank you so much for being here, and thank you guys for listening too.
Yes, thank you all for listening. This has been the Eastern Lariat. Goodbye.
Sayonara.